those things. We'll get into Bill Barnwell has a piece that he just released at ESPN about 5 different teams that he expects to have improvements this year from last year. One of those teams is the offseason winner of every single offseason. So we'll get into a little bit of that and whatever else may come up along the way. 913-912-4810 is the text line. 913-912-4810. We'll hear from Andy Reid at 11:45, Josh Kaiser in the noon hour, and then Mick Schaefer at 1 o'clock. Behind the back pass by Mahomes. I think we should we're gonna do a couple things today that people haven't been talking about at all that I think should be discussed. We're going to start with everybody ignoring the behind the back pass. I thought that was odd. Nobody's talked about it, so let's address it. And then we'll get into LeBron v. Jordan. We'll discuss those 2 things in the first hour that have not been discussed at all. But it felt planned at first when it happened. It was like, all right, there you go. Patrick talked about it this last week, that Andy Reid wants him to do it, that Andy Reid has been telling him, hey, I've been telling you to do it in a game. Do it in a game. He's done it in practice a number of times. He did it in a celebrity softball game where he threw the guy out at first from third baseline, Patrick Mahomes. So he clearly has a decent idea of accuracy behind the back, whether with a baseball, I'm guessing a basketball in his day as well, and a football. So when it happened on Saturday, it was like, oh my God, he did it in a game. He actually did it in a game. This was planned. It was a Travis Kelce shovel pass. They did it because they wanted Mahomes to do it in a game. And, hey, Mahomes, here it comes. Just do the behind-the-back pass, right? Just do it right here.
Just do the thing.
It's in do the thing. Do your thingy.
Do the little thing.
Do the thing. And so my first reaction is that this thing was planned, and he did it. We find out later on that it was ad-libbed, that it was more of not by play design. Let's hear Patrick Mahomes. This is the first clip, just Mahomes specifically, in the behind-the-back pass in the press conference after the game. We'll hear in a second Mahomes and Kelce during the game, but this is after the game was over. Patrick Mahomes explaining what took place on that 3rd and 3.
We had a play called where it was an RPO play, and Travis was supposed to run an out route. We had the leverage we wanted. I should have known because he asked me what he had as he was motioning over. You can see him kind of look back at me. I thought I told him, and it was going to be open, so I pulled it, and then he wasn't out there, so I was going to run for it. And, of course, he was blocking, and then he just turned around, and I just threw it to him. So it wasn't how it was drawn up, but I always told you it has to happen naturally. I can't, force it. And I did it, and then I actually forgot about it. And then, as the game went on, they asked me about it. I was like, oh, yeah, it probably looked pretty cool. But I haven't actually got to see it yet.
Patrick, do you think it, for lack of a better term, will liberate you to do it more? Now you've done it in a game, even if it's just a preseason game.
Not necessarily. I think it's just naturally got to happen. If you look at that play, I'm not gonna say it's the only way you can make that throw, but it was kind of it would have been hard for me to kind of turn and throw it back across above the 2 guys chasing me. I think so. We'll see when we get on film, but it's not something that I'm going to try to major in. It might be something that just kind of happens every once in a while.
When you let it go, what did it feel like? Did you know it was?
I knew it was low. I was just hoping it got to Travis. I knew it was kind of on target. It just was low. But like I said, it wasn't like I didn't do it to look cool. I literally did it as I was pissed. I was like, why didn't you run that route like that? And then it just worked out.
Here he is during the game, and this is when we first found out that this was not planned, according to them. And then this is Mahomes and Kelce both, so back-to-back we'll hear those interviews. But here he is on the sideline, first one with Trent Green, Patrick Mahomes, and then Kelce during the game about the behind-the-back pass.
Travis didn't run the route he was supposed to run, and then it was kind of a behind-the-back pass, kind of because I was mad. I was pissed off at Travis. He was supposed to run a flat route. I don't know if you can hear me on the broadcast. I'm yelling at him, and then he doesn't run it. So out of spite, I do a behind-the-back pass, but now it's going to be a highlight. We had a kind of RPO type thing going, and he was the guy I was supposed to throw it to, and then I got stuck with the football in my hand, and I was just like, gosh, darn it, Travis, and I threw it behind my back.
You know he's got the voice thing, and so he kind of mumbled out the play. I couldn't hear it. I was walking up to the line. I was trying to decipher what he was saying. Before I knew it, he snapped the ball, and I kind of saw him out of my peripheral run to the sideline, so I was trying to go help my guy out. By the time I looked over there, He was already in mid-form, like a photo on a sports card, throwing the ball to me. So it was just, I guess, right place at the right time.
So what do we think? Was it ad-libbed or was this pre-planned?
I think it's ad-libbed,
Me too.
but I do think there's something to this is the play, the motion that Travis runs when they are doing behind the back, right?
It looked
'Cause
live.
It looked natural.
Like it was one of those shovel passes that they've done underhand before.
Correct.
And this was, well, actually now I'm going to run it even further to the right,
Yeah.
which will allow me to pull the defensive end even further away so then I can throw the behind the back pass and have a bigger alley for Kelsey to run through.
But it also makes sense that Kelsey didn't hear him, ran the wrong route, but then he goes, I was trying to help my guy out, like because he knows where to go to try and be the outlet, the emergency guy for Mahomes, and he was there. It was. You should have heard me and the guys. So I was on a bachelor party at Mizzou, and we were watching this, and we were a couple adult beverages deep. And when we saw this,
say, do you remember it?
oh, it was electric. Let's just say the boys were boysin'. When we saw this after the adult beverages live, we were ecstatic. We couldn't believe what we just witnessed. Even the 49ers fan had to tip his cap and say how badass that was.
So when it first happened, before we found out, I thought it was live. And then you see Mahomes sort of walking to Kelsey. And again, live, I thought he was pointing at Kelsey. But then when you hear him talk about it and you watch that angle after Kelsey gets tackled, the game broadcast, not all the replays, the game broadcast, Mahomes continues running and then circles or goes around the edge and starts walking to Kelsey. And he doesn't point at Kelsey, he points to the right. And so when I heard him after the game or during the game and then watching that again and pointing to the right, I'm like, oh, yeah, it's exactly what he was describing.
Yeah.
Because then Kelsey's saying the same thing. He's got the voice, and I didn't really know what he was saying. So I was trying to decipher while he was calling out the cadence, deciphering, like, what am I supposed to do here? Like, what's going on? So it is, to me, it makes perfect sense that would be the play that it happens on, as we've talked about. But also, he's right that what other way do you get Kelsey the ball? That is the only way to get Kelsey the ball in that situation. You could lob it over the top of those guys.
That's almost more dangerous.
Right. As opposed to you throw it behind the back, Kelsey catches it, or it's incomplete. And then you sort of create that angle. Because some of those that they play in, some of those that they play in, they showed him throwing it to Pacheco in practice.
Sure.
But also there's the underhand part of it. There's the shovel with the left hand that you can do. A couple of different ways to complete that particular play. But what it does now is it does at least put it on film that as Mahomes gets further to the right, somebody might need to check out over their right shoulder, a defender, to see if there's a shovel pass or behind the back pass that might be happening, which could allow Mahomes to get around the edge, like he did against the Tennessee Titans with just that little head and shoulder fake, and then kept going and got to the sideline and ended up scoring there in the AFC Championship game in 2019/20. It's the small little thing like that does open up a little bit of a crease for other plays, and I don't think it's the last time we'll ever see it happen. I think we'll see it in a regular season game.
Sacking Mahomes just got harder.
Yeah,
because now you're right. Now, if you're an edge rusher trying to get after him, you're maybe thinking, oh, am I too far? Is there a safety valve back over here now? Also, intentional grounding. I don't know the rules behind it, but involved with no, come on, he wasn't trying to throw him the football. Like if you're in the pocket and there's a guy there, no, come on, that's not a pass. That's not a pass. He's just doesn't count.
He was just trying to get rid of the ball.
He's trying to get rid of the ball.
Yeah.
Well, now you have this. Well, it got back to the line of scrimmage. It's
behind the back non-intentional grounding.
It's a behind the back non-intentional grounding now.
Okay, that's a different angle I hadn't thought about. Of what
it's on film now, so now it's a legit pass.
Well, the thing is, it being on film, that's part of what they do is they put some things on film, and outside of the behind the back pass and ad-libbed and everything, there are a number of other positives that I took away from game number 2 for the Chiefs. Mm-hmm. I want to talk about one of those, and we'll get into some other positives, and then we'll get into some less than desirable outcomes for some players in the game, one specific player. But besides the mind-blowing and the reaction nationally and the haters also nationally of Mahomes, it wasn't that good. Yeah, because we've seen it from everybody else.
My favorite I saw is, scoreboard. Who won?
Oh, my God.
And I lost it.
Oh, my God.
The back-to-back Super Bowl champions apparently are toast because they lost to the Lions.
Well, you know what? Every time they've lost to the Lions by 1 at home, they win the Super Bowl.
I just love that.
Just saying.
You know how big of a hater you have to be to say scoreboard
In a preseason game?
that Mahomes played?
Or like the
I don't know if hater's the word.
I
but
think
idiot might be.
I'm pretty sure it was a joke from the guy in Detroit that tweeted out my quarterback when they showed the graphic before the game of Jared Goff and Patrick Mahomes of passing yards since 2017 in the NFL. And Goff has more passing yards
because he played the extra.
He played an entire season in 2007.
And I bet it's actually pretty close.
It is pretty close. I think Mahomes was second.
Like his first year was the Rams, like explosive offense Monday night game when Goff was.
That was Mahomes' first. That was Mahomes' first year.
Right.
And Goff played the year before.
Right.
So it was.
I will say Goff's a really good underrated quarterback. I will die on that hill.
But it was. I think he was joking, but it got a lot of traction where it was the side by side, and he just went my quarterback. You know, and he's
That's
a
great.
Lions fan. And so, you know, obviously people were, whether they were taking him seriously or not, like I figured he was just having some fun with the fact that, come on, I mean, we know that 2017, it's a skewed stat because Mahomes didn't play in 2017.
It was like that CBS graphic with Dak where it was like all the stats are the same, and it said the asterisk was excludes postseason.
Excludes postseason, that's right, yeah.
That's great.
What's missing from here? Oh, that's right, all the hardware. Oh, yeah, that's right, the trophy room.
But it matters when you don't get to play the Commanders and the Giants twice a year.
Mahomes' trophy room is like a celebration of life room, you know, of somebody who was the most popular person in town. Dak Prescott's trophy room is the last scene in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air with Will Smith in the empty living room, walking around and just looking at nothing.
The last page of your yearbook if you didn't have a lot of friends, basically.
Exactly. It's just nothing.
Mahomes really could buy Grandma's house in Happy Gilmore and turn that into his trophy room.
Absolutely.
That really could have been. Mahomes could have bought Grandma's house.
He's Shooter McGavin.
Shooter McGavin couldn't do it, but
Shooter. Yeah, just besides the reaction nationally and the behind the back pass and another notch on the belt and another advancement of the legend of Patrick Mahomes, there was one particular player that I thought stood out and had a really good game, and that was, Xavier Worthy. I want to talk about what I saw from him. Obviously, 2 catches were crucial, but one other play was pretty significant. Actually, you know what? 2 other plays for Xavier Worthy were pretty significant. Another play on top of that was significant for another player on the team that we're also paying close attention to, and special teams with a big bounce-back game in preseason game number 2, going from the talk of how bad they were to then, wow, really impressive special teams in preseason game number 2. So Dave Tobe going back and totally redeeming yourself. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. 913-912-4810 is the text line. More Zone right after this. Well, I went behind the back. I like them apples. 913-912-4810. College football starts this week. I don't know if you knew that or not. In week 0. No more Saturdays without college football. And then the NFL 2 weeks from Thursday gets rolling. 913-912-4810. Text says, when you get to play the Giants and Commanders twice a year. Yeah, because the Broncos and Raiders are world beaters.
Yeah, as soon as I said it, I knew that I was throwing stones from a glass house.
That's fine. No, all good. All good. 913-912-4810.
I was told I was 19.
Yeah, Text says, is Sterling like 19 years old?
30. It may be from when I said
30 going on 20.
I might when they said the boys. It's probably when I said the boys were boys with the adult
Probably.
beverages. That does make me sound like I'm 19. That is on me.
Yeah,
That's on me.
Just that. Hey, but have you seen Bo Nix? So I don't know, man.
Looks
Maybe the
pretty
Broncos
good.
are world beaters, you
Looks
know?
pretty good. 913-912-4810. Text says, I would almost bet my life no player from either team on the field in the last 3 minutes of the game will be on either roster this year. Really, the whole fourth quarter means nothing. Not roster, but I think, practice squad. I'll be watching. I'll be honest, I don't know how close on Thursday night I'll be watching the fourth quarter in the second half. I'll certainly be watching the first half because I think those are guys that are going to be on the team and chances of making the squad because we'll all have our roster projections. And I had the one that I put together last Monday, or I guess it would be Tuesday now since I was off last Monday. The one I put together for that Tuesday show, I had Curtis Jacobs on the team and not Cam Jones.
Yeah.
And Curtis Jacobs made a couple plays in the game, but Cam Jones had the special teams play in causing the fumble. And he's playing a lot, as that Mike linebacker in the game there, whether it be in the second quarter or the second half. So he was out there a lot. Pretty sure he's going to make the squad. So I'll probably, in my next 53-man projection, have Cam Jones over Curtis Jacobs. Again, as I said with Matt Derrick last Friday, there's a little bit of the wishful thinking. I think Cam Jones is fine, but I'm excited about what Curtis Jacobs can do. If he makes it back on the practice squad for the Chiefs, hey, great, awesome, that's good. Because I think he can be a productive player with his skill set and the things that he brings to the table. He just has to get reps and learn the game.
I think 6 linebackers are getting carried by the Chiefs. I think both Curtis Jacobs and Cam Jones. They had 6 last year.
6 is difficult to do the numbers because, then you're talking about, unless you have Shamari Connor. I guess Shamari Connor could count as cornerback, and so you can keep 5 cornerbacks, 4 safeties, and Shamari Connor is like a cornerback / well, if Deion Bush makes a practice squad, you can keep 3 safeties and 6 cornerbacks, so that would be 9. So you're keeping 9 defensive linemen?
9 defensive linemen.
Interesting.
9 defensive
linemen.
And then 10 secondary members and then 6 linemen. Because, again, I think special teams, as we saw, special teams is that valuable with the new kickoff rules.
Yep. 913-912-4810. 913-912-4810 is the text line to join us and be a part of the show. All right, let's talk about a player that made some plays and I think did some really special things or showed what he can be for this team. Let's hear from Andy Reid talking about that particular player, Xavier Worthy, and his speed that he brings to the table without a Hollywood Brown in the game.
Yeah, sure. No, that's an important part of it. And when Hollywood gets back in there, there'll be another addition to it. McColl's doing some good things there too. So, having that helps. But Xavier's speed to be able to get through and make people honor him. Sometimes 2 people honor him. So that's a big thing.
So the 39-yard catch that he had on 3rd down and 10 was obviously huge. It extended the drive. It was illegal motion, or it was it would have been illegal motion because he already turned upfield. He was running. So should have been really a false start is what it should have been. I'm glad they didn't call it. They didn't call a face mask on Isaiah Pacheco later on in the drive, and I'm like, you know what? Evens out. They didn't call a false start, and they didn't call the face mask. All good. That's fine because it got the 39-yard catch from Holmes to Xavier Worthy, and I think he'll clean up the part of taking a step too early on the snap count. That seemed pretty easy. It didn't look like he had to use his 2nd or 3rd gear to get open. That was just sort of schemed open from that standpoint. The later on, the 22-yard catch that he had from Carson Wentz, that an over route from the slot, that they left him with the safety, and all he did was throttle down for a second, and the safety hesitated, and it was over. And again, I don't think Xavier Worthy had to get to a second gear to go get the ball. Like, if that safety was behind him and there was more room to throw it, Mahomes could have thrown it 50 yards down the field, and by the time Xavier Worthy got there, he might have had 10, 15 yards of separation on the dude because he was toast. And finding out that he was just running a clear-out route. And Mahomes saying in the postgame that, it helps me for later on down the season because he was running a clear-out, but he ends up getting the touchdown because of his speed and that little throttle down. And that's the part that makes up for, look at what John Ross did in the NFL, and he was really fast in the 40 time. Being fast is one thing. Understanding how to use your speed is completely different. And that's an understanding of, I just give a hesitation, this guy's hips move to the right just a second, I'm gone.
Yeah.
I am not just running as fast as you can down the field and people turning and running with you. Like, you got to use your speed in your route running. And Xavier Worthy does it. It's one of the things we talked about. When they drafted him, that this is not just a guy who runs fast. It's a guy who runs fast and understands how to play wide receiver.
And I'd like to know what offense John Ross was in during his kind of formative
Andy
years
Dalton.
yeah, exactly. It wasn't that West Coast Andy Reid offense where
there was an Andy involved. It was just the wrong one.
The wrong one, exactly. The West Coast offense is made to take advantage of open spaces and the rules of defenses. And if he's already learning that and he's already using the different route tree options that he had on that play, which was an in-breaker or an out-breaker, to set up that safety, he's already basically advanced pretty far in that playbook as well.
So the very next play after the 39-yard catch was a 20-yard throw to Justin Watson. It's a 20-yard play on 1st and 10 to Justin Watson. And that play sticks out because why was Justin Watson so wide open?
I actually just DM'd you I didn't know if you had seen the
all
22 of it.
No, I've been looking for the all 22 because
Are you boys DMing each other without me?
I slide in. We slide in each other's
Sliding
DMs.
back and forth over there in the DMs.
We don't want to talk about you right to your face.
Wow.
We're respectful that way. Okay, we're not going to be rude to your face. That's just mean.
Yeah.
That's not us. We're not mean. That's not us. We don't throw behind the back passes out of spite.
Yeah,
We
exactly.
don't do those things.
They're planned.
Yeah, it's exactly. Our sliding in each other's DMs to talk about you totally planned. But like they do the play action, and the play is set up for Hollywood, and Mahomes looks at Hollywood, and two guys react to him, which then leaves Justin Watson wide open. And also
Worthy, you mean?
What did I say?
I think he said Hollywood again.
Sorry, dang. Hollywood would be helping out. It was just the damn thing. Xavier Speed without Hollywood, and Hollywood's right there.
It's right there.
It's right there, Hollywood, on the format. But Xavier Speed, that he looks at him, and two guys go with him, which leaves Justin Watson open. And if the linebacker had reacted to Justin Watson being open, layered on top of that is Travis Kelce, who's open. Like, the entire middle of the field opened up like the Red Sea because they overreacted to Xavier Worthy, not Hollywood, Xavier Worthy, because of the very play before that in which he had a 39-yard catch on 3rd down. Yeah. And it's what I talked about all offseason, that Rashee Rice's impact on the Chiefs came in production. It came in volume for him to catch the ball because they needed that. They needed somebody to be reliable, that can run the routes, that can pick up yards after catch, that can be not Travis Kelce that Mahomes could throw the ball to. Xavier Worthy's impact comes on plays that Justin Watson got a 20-yard catch.
And Rashee Rice. I mean, I'm sure if we look at some of the plays that he was wide open on.
I mean, and that's another one, like Rashee Rice to me really stood out in this game.
Yep.
Like, he's a different player now. He has picked up what Rashee Rice was at the end of the season is the way he's starting this year, if not a little bit better. Along with Kelce, now throwing in Xavier Worthy, that changes the look that defenses will have to be prepared for from the Chiefs. And Mahomes even talking about on the second drive, when it was 1st and 10, and he threw the shot downfield to the left side on the 9 route. And he overshot him. And he said, yeah, we didn't complete on that. The defense won that rep, but they know I'm going to throw it if it's one-on-one.
Yep.
Yeah.
And now they've got to think about, do I want to be in a formation and a defense that leaves him one-on-one? Because if he wins that rep, it's 6. And I know he's probably going to throw it because when he had Tyreek, when Tyreek was one-on-one on the outside, I'm going to take the chance and I'm going to take my shot here with Tyreek one-on-one with a cornerback. And I'm going to take my shot with Xavier one-on-one with a cornerback. So do you want to stay in that defense? Great. We may complete it, we may not. But if we don't, it's 2nd down and 10. If we do, it's 6.
Yeah.
Or it's a huge chunk play. Like those little aspects can change so much of what the Chiefs offense was unable to do last year that they will be able to do just in the element of speed and combining speed with an actual wide receiver.
Yeah. It's almost like, do you feel lucky, punk? Do you feel lucky?
Yeah.
I was watching this is going to shock no one. I was watching the Super Bowl III documentary.
Was
the
that
Jets.
this morning?
No, last night. But Jets-Colts, Don Maynard, Hall of Fame receiver, was injured in that game, and first play, they ran him deep down the field and threw a pass to him out of bounds, basically, for the same reason. It's like half the time they're doing things to set things up later in the game, in an NFL game, because they know plays in the beginning of the game are really not good. They can, but most of the time it's always in the second quarter to fourth quarter when things start to get tight.
Sure.
By the way, watching because I hadn't seen the All-22 yet. I've been waiting for the All-22 to come out. So I've been checking yesterday because this is the specific play I wanted to see, was the Justin Watson play. So I'm glad that you sent me the All-22 there in my DMs, Dylan. At JA_Gibbs_23 is the Jacob Gibbs that tweeted that out. And he just writes gravity.
Yeah.
Because I thought there were 2 guys that went with him.
Yeah, no, it's 3.
3 guys went with him, including the player that's supposed to
cover Watson, right?
Not only cover Watson, but Travis Kelce is coming over into the middle of the field.
Unreal.
And the safety that's supposed to squeeze down on Travis Kelce turned and also ran with Worthy. So, like, there's Kelce wide open in the middle of the field, and there's Justin Watson because this safety up here goes and turns with Hollywood.
Oh, my God.
And just vacates Travis Kelce, which would have been 5 yards behind Justin Watson, just standing in the middle of the hashes right there. Because that other safety, like, oh, crap. If those guys are beat, I got to make up for this. I'll give you 25 for Kelce because we don't want to give you 50 for Worthy.
Kelce might go over 1,200 yards this year. If Kelsey's getting one-on-ones or even in this case one-on-zeros because of Xavier Worthy's ability, his gravitational pull.
I love that title, just gravity, because that's exactly what happened.
It is what it is, yeah.
3 guys just saw him and then ran with him. Like 3 dudes.
Yeah.
And now that's the... to be fair, those are the backup players.
Yes.
Lions did not. So those are all backup safeties, backup cornerbacks, maybe overreacting. And if the Lions or Ravens, secondary won't react that way, they'll let
Kyle Hamilton isn't going to react that way.
Yeah, I mean, and hopefully neither of those 3 react that
The
way.
Lions
and hit Xavier
secondary
Worthy over the top.
also has always been their
Questionable.
Yeah.
It was questionable with their starters last year.
Yeah.
That's why they spent the entire offseason trying to upgrade.
And Brian
that
Branch
particular
was a
secondary.
draft pick.
Absolutely. So
Carry on honor.
yeah, so there's some issues there with the Lions, but I think it's an example of what he will bring to the table. In my point being, his impact doesn't have to be in volume.
Sure.
He does have to. They do have to complete those passes to show that they will burn you if you do not play him correctly. But he's opening up stuff for everybody else.
One of the guys who I thought was very impressive, who went under the radar, whose statistics were not good in this game, but I think showed me what I needed to see, was Carson Steele.
Yeah.
Carson Steele in pass protection was really nice multiple times. On, I believe it was the Worthy touchdown, he picked up the rusher and just bodied him. And then he had back-to-back plays. I think it was right before, it was in the second quarter, and he one great pass pro pickup, just great pass pro rep. I'm like, that is huge. Stud. And then proceeded to the next play, catch a 6-yard pass. Not a big thing.
Yeah.
Not a big thing at all, but the fact that, okay, he can catch the rock, he can do some pass pro, That's what we needed to see from him.
That was a difficult catch, too.
It wasn't the easy. So
Yeah.
I'm
Marcus Kemp didn't catch that one, the back shoulder, when he was sort of cutting inside and hit him on the back shoulder pad.
And so my point here is
I like Marcus Kemp.
I love Marcus Kemp.
Yeah.
My point here is Carson Steele, even with a bad statistical output, showed me what I needed to see for him to make the 53.
How do you stop the offense with Brown and Worthy? Like that's kind of what I'm thinking by that video of seeing 3 guys travel to him when you do have Hollywood and Xavier, and because you could just send them both on goes.
Yep.
And that would leave the intermediate completely wide open or man to man.
It's 4 guys on the field.
Yep.
Right.
That can be difference makers. Hollywood, Xavier, Kelsey, Rice. 4 guys. And Rice is dynamic with the ball in his hands after the catch.
Mm-hmm.
Kelsey's going to find a way to get open. Hollywood is a phenomenal route runner when he is out there and catches the ball. And Xavier Worthy's a game changer and a defensive strategy changer because his speed is otherworldly and he also knows how to utilize it. I mean, the possibilities.
And you can run with Pacheco, by the way, in light boxes now too.
Yeah. The possibilities are so exciting about what the offense can look like that you're like, man, let's just get to September 5th. Let's
I'm
see
stoked.
when they start game planning for teams and using one play off another to see what happens. And then, hopefully then whenever they get Hollywood back to throw out there with Xavier, with Kelsey, with Rashee Rice,
That's another
with
thing.
Pacheco.
Is that if they hold him out for the first 2 weeks, and those are the first 2 games that we have is Ravens Bengals, and they don't get a first look at what we're going to do when both of them are on the field until the postseason, that's actually kind of a plus.
Hey, yeah.
Oh, and then I hate doing this.
Then don't do it.
I'm doing it. That almost catch by Justin Ross was absurd. I don't want to be. I don't want to do this again. I don't. Because I didn't do it last year.
I thought he had a terrible game, actually.
That's fine. But that one particular almost catch where it was should have been a 0% catch chance, and he made that very close was insane.
Yeah,
I'm not doing it, but
right.
But that was just wow.
I wasn't even including that play in what I thought was a rough game for Justin Ross. But then listening to Nick Jacobs and Matt Derrick, and it was an interesting point by Nick Jacobs in saying, well, that catch or non-catch, he's like, was actually Justin Ross's fault. He said, there's red lines on the practice field at training camp for a reason. And when you're running that go route, you do not run outside that red line. That red line, you have to stay on the field side of that because it gives the quarterback space to then throw the ball to the sideline. And he said as Justin Ross was running his route, he kept fading closer and closer to the sideline. So then the catch takes him out of bounds with the throw. Stay closer in the red. Now, maybe Carson Wentz, overthrows him or doesn't have the accuracy.
Sure.
He's like, but those red lines are there specifically for a reason. And if you keep fading, like that's your specific job is jump balls and things like that. You can't fade on the other side of that red line because now that's the cornerback's job is to
the inverse
push
is
you
the
out
cornerback's job on the red line is
to eliminate that space.
Exactly.
Yeah, to get you out there. And I thought it was an interesting point, but they like him. They like him in certain packages. And they don't like Kadarius Toney, or at least I don't know. Maybe they do like Kadarius Toney. I'm not sure. We'll talk about some of the things that also were positives from the Chiefs in the game and some negatives that came out from that game. We'll talk about the Royals. They get the sweep of the Cincinnati Reds. We will hear from Andy Reid in about an hour from now. We'll talk with Josh Kaiser a couple of hours from now. Mick Schaefer coming up in the 1 o'clock hour. More Zone next. All right, a lot more stuff to get into around the Chiefs game on Saturday. Preseason game number 3 coming up Thursday night on 38 The Spot. And we'll also talk about the Royals with the big weekend that they had. 3 games back of the Guardians. They can still win the division. The Royals. I may have said the Chiefs again.
38 The Spot on YouTube TV.
That's not.
I thought, didn't Mick say that that they're adding it for this week?
I have no idea. I don't think so. Oh, are you being don't do that.
No.
Are you being serious?
I thought.
The third Chiefs preseason game?
Yeah. It is on 38 The Spot.
Yeah. What, did Dylan just confuse you or something?
Yeah, because he said...
Now I'm confused.
Because I have YouTube TV and I don't have 38 The Spot. And he was saying that they're adding it just for this week. Are you lying, Dylan?
I don't know.
Don't do that. It's on 38 The Spot. 702-4810 is the text line to be a part of the show, part of the conversation. Text says, are they hiding LRZ? No, I just think he's showing that he's a rugby player trying to play in the NFL. I thought before we saw him actually in a preseason game, I'm like, there's so much hype around him. Dave Tobes talked about him being the main kick returner, kicking the ball off. Could they use him as a fourth running back? Do they need 4 running backs, right? Because at that point it was like Pacheco, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Deneric Prince, and then, maybe it's LRZ, but not Carson Steele being the player that he is now, where it's like Pacheco and Carson Steele, and then we'll find out who else is going to be on the team when the 53-man roster comes out next week at 3 o'clock. And we'll really find out at 1 o'clock next week, because they'll have press conferences at 1 o'clock next week. And oftentimes somebody that makes the squad that they didn't know was going to make the squad or not will have a press conference. And it may have been last year or the year before. There was somebody that we didn't know was going to make the team or not. And all of a sudden, he was scheduled to the press conference on that Tuesday at like 1 o'clock. We're like, maybe it was Justin Ross last year?
Yeah, it was someone who, I think it was one of the wide receivers.
Yeah, maybe it was
whatever it was.
It might have been Justin Ross last year that it was like, Justin Ross is talking today. All right, I guess he's made the squad since the official announcement comes out at 3 o'clock Central Time. I guess it was something along those lines. So we might get a decent idea. Maybe next Tuesday, 1 o'clock, Carson Steele's talking as, with they'll have players that'll be at the podium next week. But, knowing that, just a clear-out route for Xavier Worthy ends up being a touchdown is just part of like a little bit of the overall excitement. But no, I don't think they're hiding LRZ. I just think that he's not going to be a running back on a team, and you're not going to keep him just for kickoff returns, because I think they get enough from Remigio, and Sky Moore looked pretty good. Yeah. That would be a concern if I'm Nico Remigio as to how good Sky Moore looked on the kickoff returns. So if they're going, you keep – one of the reasons I had Nico on my 53 was he's their number 1 kick returner. They like him in punt returns, and if he can just simply be a representative good enough receiver as the 7th receiver, 6th or 7th, then you can earn a spot on this team. But if they're looking at him as a main kick returner, Sky Moore looked pretty damn good. And also Carson Steele's back there. Yeah. So Carson Steele looked good. So if they're looking at him going, Carson Steele and Sky Moore can be our kick returners, we don't need to keep Nico on the 53-man roster. We can put him at practice squad, which then can allow them to keep somebody else or maybe only keep 6 wide receivers. I think they're going to keep 7.
Sure.
I think Sky Moore is on the team, the 4 regular ones.
Yes.
Sky Moore is number 5.
Yep.
And then a battle between, Nico and Kadarius Toney and Justin Ross.
Yeah. I think McCole Hardman, is on it for now.
Yeah.
With the injury to Hollywood.
Yeah.
I think for now.
So I want to talk about a couple of other positives that came from that game. We mentioned a little bit Rashee Rice.
Yeah.
I mean, Rashee Rice looks like a guy that Mahomes just simply trusts.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was it another third down that he hit Rashee Rice with a quick little throw over the middle, and then there was the very next play he throws it to Rashee Rice, who just stopped in the gap and in the soft spot of the zone. And by the way, to his right, Justin Watson was in the same spot but even more open, but he didn't look there. He looked right at Rashee Rice, and boom, Rashee Rice catches it, turns up the field, and goes. And there's an excitement level to what Rashee Rice will look like first game of the season.
Yeah.
With Xavier Worthy, with Travis Kelce on a pitch count, and when Hollywood Brown comes back. And Justin Watson is a solid enough receiver when he's your 4th receiver. All right, not when he's your 1st or your 2nd, which was at times last year. Yep. He's getting the most reps as a receiver. He and MVS till the end of the season, it ended up being finally Rashee Rice in the playoffs getting 90% of the reps. He's a nice receiver there. So what Rashee Rice showed in preseason game number 2, getting 2 series with Patrick Mahomes, Mahomes already has a trust in Rashee Rice to go along with Kelce before you start to integrate Hollywood and Xavier Worthy into the offense.
Yeah, I find it almost fascinating that Rashee Rice has been the name that almost is getting thrown by the wayside, and the only time he seemingly is brought up is in regards to the offseason issues.
Which is deserved.
No, very deserved.
Yeah.
But in just football terms, he's such a major focal point of the offense. and you look at the overall numbers last year, just under 1,000 yards and all this stuff, and you might just say, okay, that's really good wide receiver 2. Maybe he's in that wide receiver 2 category. But he was ascending. The first 8 games, he was used only at the line of scrimmage. Like, what is he with a full season now where Andy Reid unleashes him?
And Mahomes knows what he can do and trusts him. And a good point about unleashing him. Andy Reid has an idea of what he's good at and not good at and what he's improved on.
Is he a 1,200-yard? I'm not saying he is or is not, but I'm saying, like, is he that type of guy? Because that was the pace he would have been on if he was used in that role. Now, of course, the wide receiver room this year is a lot deeper, more targets going to Hollywood and Xavier Worthy. And I'm even a little intrigued to see where Xavier Worthy is introduced early on. We know Andy Reid and his fascination with not using rookie receivers almost early on, right? Is Xavier the outlier? Is he the guy that they go, you know what? We trust him already week 1, game 1. He's going to be out there. He's playing a lot of snaps. It's not going to be Watson. It is Worthy. Because part of me thinks, didn't we have the same thing last year with Rice? And we're saying, put him on the field, and Andy just didn't? I don't know your thoughts here, but it almost seems like he trusts Worthy more early on than he trusted Rashee Rice early on at the same point last season.
It's an interesting point. Maybe it's the Hollywood injury that because of what Xavier Worthy brings to the table, get him out there, run these routes, be a part of the game plan. Mm-hmm. He needs to be on the field because his impact comes in multiple dimensions, where Rashee Rice was like the 5th receiver last year at the beginning of the season because, Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore, 1-2, obvious. MVS and Justin Watson, 3-4, obvious.
You had to.
And then Rashee Rice, number 5. And look, rookie receivers for Andy Reid, it takes them a while. Look at Sky Moore last year. I'm going back to last year. Look at Sky Moore last year. His sophomore year coming up. It's going to be his big breakout year. It's not Deshaun Jackson and Jeremy Maclin. Those are the 2 outliers with rookie receivers. And so there wasn't a whole lot expected of Rashee Rice, I think. And where there's much more expected of Xavier Worthy because of what Rashee Rice was able to do last year, but also, just simply the impact he can make without actually having or needing the volume of targets and receptions and yards that Rashee Rice got. Another guy who looked really good and adds to the excitement of what the Chiefs might be able to do this year. And I'm not going to give away the entire Seth Kaiser, Chief in the North newsletter, because Seth puts a lot of work into it, and, go and subscribe to that because there's really great information. So he broke down a lot of different things that Kingsley did in week number 2, but he grades them in pass block win rate, or pass block wins, pass block losses, run block wins, run block losses, and grades each play. He had 8 plays where he pass blocked and 3 plays where he run blocked. He graded them, of the 8 pass blocks, 7 of them were wins, and 1 was a loss. The runs, 3 wins, no losses. Now, that's just a snippet of what Seth talks about in that, an entire newsletter where he breaks out a lot of different things as to why this was a win, why this was, why this turned out to be that. Look what he did with his feet, his hips, everything. So it's still a interesting read. But the play that really impressed me with Kingsley and showed what the Chiefs were looking at. And when it happened, I, had to rewind it and look at it again just to make sure that I'm like, okay, what did he do there? It was the Xavier Worthy end around in which he gained 11 yards, fumbled the ball, recovered the fumble. But if you just watch Kingsley Suamataia, I don't know if Seth Kaiser specifically used that play that he broke down in a GIF of Kingsley. But if you just watch Kingsley on that play at left tackle, the snap comes in, he goes to his right and takes on the defensive tackle to push him down towards, I think at that point, Caliendo / Creed Humphrey. The tight end, Noah Gray, was to Kingsley's left. He crashes down on the defensive end to seal him to open up the backside. So after Kingsley goes and hits the defensive tackle to push him towards Caliendo to give him leverage, Kingsley then turns around and runs outside. And if you watch the play, you see Xavier Worthy cut up on Kingsley's backside because Kingsley has already turned around and got to the cornerback / safety that was coming on the outside to force it back in. Kingsley's there to take that guy then.
Yeah.
Because he was fast enough and athletic enough to first couple steps to his right to push that defensive tackle to gain leverage for the left guard. And then by the time Worthy was running and getting to that spot, Kingsley had to beat Worthy to that spot so he didn't run into Xavier Worthy. And he got there and sealed the guy, which created the lane for Xavier Worthy to cut right off his backside and then pick up 11 yards.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, that's a guy who's got the footwork and the athleticism to make it through the trenches and to get out there in time to do that. You get a slower guy and you start to get some traffic around Xavier Worthy, or the defensive end or the left tackle crashes down to gain leverage for the guard and then turns around and sees he can't get there and then turns upfield to try to find somebody. Well, at that point, Xavier Worthy might be getting tackled by the guy. Now, Carson Steele was out there too.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Kingsley helped with the seal that, Carson Steele, if Kingsley's out there maybe a little bit sooner, maybe Carson Steele can go to the next guy. Or Kingsley next time can see Carson Steele has that. Now I can get upfield and go and get somebody, and it creates even bigger seam. Like his movement, you can see what the Chiefs like in him. It's still going to be a learning curve. There are still going to be some times where he just gets beat because he's going to be playing an entire game, not a total of 18 snaps so far in the preseason, 11 of those against backup players for the Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
But we're watching the traits and the movement and the hips and his feet, able to slide and things like that. Yeah, what we've seen from Kingsley so far is it gives optimism up to how good he can be and what the Chiefs see in him. He needs seasoning, he needs reps, and he can be good enough this year to where you start to see if he can be above average and maybe really good in the next couple of years.
Yeah, and that's kind of I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, again, this game, as good as he looked in the again, small sample size. Take a drink.
Oh, thank you.
I hope you're thirsty there.
I am.
Yeah.
Thanks for that.
It was against a lot of backups. It was all backups. It was on Aiden Hutchinson out there who
It's all
was
ball bearings these days.
So I'm impressed, but I do need to take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
Everything.
But
Good with it.
I'm very optimistic that he can at least be Donovan Smith.
Yeah, if he can be that, I mean,
He'll be more inconsistent than Donovan because of just being a rookie, and Donovan's been around. He's seen these things before, right? But as far as I think the overall season structure-wise, I think he could be just as good as Donovan was last year. That's not a knock against Donovan Smith. That's also a positive to how athletically talented and gifted Kingsley Suamataia is, even if sometimes he might be going up against a more veteran pass rusher. The athleticism might make up for some of the, I don't want to say mental lapses, but just the mental non-growth compared to the Khalil Mack.
The mental learning curve.
Yes,
I mean, that goes
thank
along with
you.
it because he was running a spread offense the last couple of years. I mean, it's a lot different scheme that Andy Reid's going to ask you to do, and technique-wise, his rookie year than what he's done the last couple of years.
I think from what we've seen, we know that he's better than Donovan Smith. By head and shoulders better because
He's got the traits to be better than Donovan Smith.
Yeah,
head and
I
shoulders.
He would be Donovan Smith would be on the team if he was not,
point.
showing that he was going to be better or
Yeah.
a better option. I almost would argue that Donovan Smith was a better left tackle than Orlando Brown.
I thought that I didn't see much. I mean,
There was
Donovan
really not
Donovan
much
Smith
difference.
missed some games, and Orlando Brown was
Orlando Brown
was
required more chip
healthy.
help than Donovan Smith
and he
did.
didn't. I mean, yeah, Orlando Brown was sort of a statue at times, and
Exactly.
you did need to help him out.
He didn't fit the Chiefs' offense. Was the biggest knock.
I will also point out that when you watch the 18 reps or so plays that Kingsley has had in the preseason, the Chiefs have sent the running back over to his side a lot. There's been a couple of times there was a tight end that chipped. They are giving some help to Kingsley. So when Mahomes is in the game, we're not going to leave him on an island, to just get beat and have Mahomes get. So we'll have a running back over near him and then go out into a pass, rep. We'll have a tight end step down, give him a little shoulder, then get out on a route and allow Kingsley to, be able to gain some leverage on that particular player. So there is still that. But they had to do that all last year anyway. And when Wanya Morris was in the game, they were scheming around the fact that Wanya Morris was in the game. And he was a rookie trying to learn as well. but they were scheming Wanya Morris at left tackle, so they were giving a lot more help than what they're doing to Kingsley right now, which makes sense because I don't think they should just be scheming to help Kingsley right now. They should be allowing him to then learn with these reps instead of always, and then know what he's weak at. Now we can scheme until he gets better and better, and then maybe in the middle of the season or late in the season, all of a sudden, playoff time, your running back's just going out for a route, or you're leaving Kingsley over there at times, or Mahomes has a feel to what Kingsley's doing. There was a play where Kingsley, was, I can't remember what the defensive end was, but it was the one where the defensive end ended up sort of falling at the feet of Mahomes and sort of reaching at Mahomes' back leg.
Oh, yeah.
Mahomes completed the pass, but it almost looked like Mahomes sped up a little bit, that he could feel the guy near him. Well, Kingsley won that rep because he stayed with the guy and ended up pushing him to the ground, and the guy slipped. So all he did was be able to reach close to Mahomes' leg. 3 weeks from now, 5 weeks from now, or 4 games into the season, does Mahomes stand there a little bit longer knowing Kingsley's got that guy? He's sliding with him. He's got him. I've got another half second to where I can, survey the field. I don't need to sort of get out of my stance right now. Maybe I can slide up 1/2 step. Or maybe then I can leak out to the left because Kingsley's already washed that guy behind me. So now this whole left side is wide open. I can get out and survey the field a little bit more, where I could also run if need be.
And what I think is so impressive and why Kingsley fits better, and why I don't like taking knocks against Orlando Brown Jr. typically. I know people people have their own thoughts on him.
He did his job. They won a Super Bowl.
That's my point with that. I don't think he fit the offense very well because, again, he doesn't have quick feet. He is a statue. He's better suited for the Joe Burrow types than the Mahomes types. Because Mahomes takes these deep drops, and they talk about it all the time.
I don't know that he's better suited for Joe Burrow.
Well, maybe not, but
I think he's better suited for a quarterback that can turn pressure into non-sacks, and Burrow ain't good at that. But anyway, go ahead.
But guys who take deep drops.
Yeah.
Mahomes takes sometimes unorthodox deep drops. Trey Smith has talked about this many a time. But what does Kingsley do? The athleticism to also, as you're talking about, sweep guys away to the left and keep them away, that helps sometimes these deeper drops. It's why I think Kingsley makes more sense than Donovan Smith. Donovan Smith might know these. He might know what Mahomes is trying to do, but athletically, he might not be able to get there. Kingsley's going to grow with Mahomes, and Kingsley has the athleticism to keep up, again, on these deeper, again, sometimes more, it's not a knock against Mahomes, it's just his style of play.
Yeah.
He likes to drop deep. A lot of quarterbacks don't do that. You got to get used to this. But Kingsley has the traits and the tools to be able to do this.
By the way, there's one GIF that's out there on the Carson Steele run down at like the 15-yard line, 14-yard line. I think the Chiefs, I don't know if it was first down, second down, whatever that was. But when Mahomes was still in the game and it was a handoff to Steele, they run to the left side. And if you just watch Kingsley against the defensive end throws like a punch with his right hand to the left shoulder pad of the defensive end and knocks him back like 2 yards. He takes a step back and just punches with his right hand to gain leverage, and the guy goes stumbling to his his right, and Kingsley then steps in and just walls him off. It's like, all right, well, he can, has the feet, and showed, a pretty fierce punch. Grain of salt, as we talked about, because it was the backups for the Detroit Lions. We'll come back. We'll talk about some of the struggles by one particular player and get into that. And then also I want to at least talk about at some point Bill Barnwell, what he wrote at ESPN about teams that he expects improvements this year from, and looking at the AFC West. We'll do that coming up next. now we'll hear from Andy Reid. We will hear from Trent McDuffie, and we'll hear from Justin Watson. So, we kind of get an idea of who's at the podium as to whether or not they'll make the team. So, seems like Trent McDuffie and Justin Watson look like they're on the inside looking out of making the team this year. And Andy Reid will probably be retained as head coach, because he's also, trying to put some plays and coaching ability on film just in case the Chiefs cut him. So another team may be looking for Andy Reid. But Andy Reid, Justin Watson, and Trent McDuffie will be talking today at the podium about 11:45 or so.
Well, didn't you hear Florio said Andy's retiring? So there's still time for Andy to retire before the season starts.
Well, also Patrick Mahomes. It's about time that somebody starts asking about that.
Right?
Also,
I think Andy first.
Yeah.
Then Patrick.
But what about Travis Kelce?
I don't think they want to step on each other's Hall of Fame inductions, so it's going to be like a year by year by year.
No. They all retire together next year, and they all go in the Hall of Fame together, that triumvirate. What about Chris Jones? He's got to retire too. So
good word.
All four of those guys, the Mount Rushmore of the Chiefs run. There you go. Goes in the Hall of Fame together. They all retire after next year. After
and Dan Sorensen.
After winning 4 years in a row. 4 straight. Go out on top.
And Kingsley. I'm surprised, but time to start talking about Kingsley's too much. He is retirement, right?
And his gold jacket.
Yeah.
Might as well. Somebody who won't be earning a gold jacket, and I don't know, will be earning a 53-man roster, might be earning a call from the Turk coming up a week from tomorrow. Kadarius Toney. First snap of the preseason, right? Did he play in preseason game number 1? I don't even remember. I don't remember. He might have been injured. Who knows?
I think he was injured.
Yeah.
And do we count the special teams punt return as his first snap or this one?
No, this one. First actual snap from scrimmage.
And I'm probably wrong, actually.
First play from scrimmage. 2 penalties. 2.
I thought he lined up offsides, to be honest, and that would have been all time.
Lined up wrong, covering up the end.
Yeah.
Should have been off the line of scrimmage. And then holds. 2 penalties on 1 play. And this is a guy who continues to be injured. A guy who was in full pads last week for 2 of the 3 practices and didn't take a rep in 2 of those practices. Just in full pads standing on the sideline watching practice. A guy who didn't show up to anything voluntary in the offseason. The only thing he showed up to was the 3 days of mandatory minicamp. The exact opposite of Aaron Rodgers. He shows up to the mandatory minicamp, Kadarius Toney does, but that's it. And then he's been injured multiple different times in training camp. And then he gets out there and he commits 2 penalties on his first play. Like, what part of Kadarius Toney says this guy is going to be on the team or should be on the team? Not only is going to be on the team, because there's so much of it that's saying, no, he's not going to be on the team, but should be on the team. Because all summer and offseason it was, look, the Chiefs really like Kadarius Toney. Like they look at what they have in Kadarius Toney, and they see some things that others don't see. He's got this game-changing ability. He can turn the game on a play, which he's done before against the Lions. He turned that game on a play. It just was the wrong one.
He sure is a game changer.
Yeah, no doubt.
You can't take that away from him. He can change games.
He changed that Lions game, no doubt.
Not
it
good.
Did not affect them because they still won the Super Bowl. They are 2 for 2 winning the Super Bowl when Kadarius Toney's been on the team. So, that could be the entire reason that they've won the Super Bowl. I don't know. I guess you can't prove that it's not the reason. You take him off the team last year. What happens? I don't know. I think they probably still win those games in the postseason because, he wasn't on the team. So he had a rough day yesterday. I am fascinated to see how much he plays on Thursday and if he's in there in the second half. And if the Chiefs just simply cut bait, because it costs them the same amount to waive him as it does to keep him.
Sunk cost.
It is. It is at this point.
Are you better with someone else rather than him on the roster? I think the answer is yes. That means it's a sunk cost. You move on.
Because they also were trying to get him reps as a running back, right? They were handing the ball off early in training camp. But now you've seen the development of Carson Steele.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen Deneric Prince, his development. the fourth running back, I'm not sure if they're going to keep 4 running backs. Because also, I don't know how you keep Clyde Edwards-Helaire right now.
Yeah, true.
Like, Kadarius Toney and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, like, I don't think either one are on the team next Tuesday.
I think Clyde has a better chance than Toney, though. And that's not saying a lot. My point with Toney here, one, the running back thing was never going to happen because of pass protection. You've seen him try and block on the outside. Not great. If you think he's a special teamer, who had the, again, small sample size, take a drink.
Thank you.
Who was the shortest punt returner on the day?
It was Kadarius Toney.
Yeah, by a pretty good margin.
Yeah.
No kick returns, right? 0 kick returns, which is kind of funny because the Chiefs' shortest kick return on the day was tied for the longest kick return for the Lions. So Dave Tobe, as you mentioned, really got things in gear for this one. Sky Moore looked good on the returns as well. I have zero idea or zero thought if Toney makes the team, because I think he's just no chance, because he's not a good special teamer. He's not a good receiver. He's not being used as a running back. What does he bring to your team? What does Toney do that's better than anyone else on the 53-man?
I'll take my chances with Nico Remigio and Justin Ross being on this team over Kadarius Toney right now. So if my 5 receivers that I think are on the team, the 4 main guys, and then Sky Moore, there's 5. I think Sky Moore's on the team. McCole Hardman, 6. And then it's a choice between Justin Ross, Nico Remigio, and Kadarius Toney. Kadarius Toney's the 3rd of those 3. And I don't know who the first 2 would be. I know they like Justin Ross, but he had a rough game on Saturday.
Yeah.
Nico Remigio had a couple of negative plays a week ago when he jumped for the football for no reason, then fumbled it, then muffed the punt. He also had some good plays there, so it's an up and down sort of result. He had a good kick return, did Remigio. So I'd rather have him over Kadarius Toney.
I would take Montrell Washington over Toney at this point, because Montrell Washington can at least return the ball.
He played last year, too. I mean, Montrell Washington was active for a couple of games.
And had some nice returns.
Yeah.
Like, I just think people are so enamored by the time that Toney adjusted his gloves and made a catch that we have to sit here and have this conversation.
I think people are over it. I really do. I think people have moved past
More
from
the
that.
Super Bowl return, I'd say.
Yeah. And
it was a great return, but Sky Moore also had a great return. I don't want him being a punt returner.
No, I agree. I'm
Kick
just saying,
returner
like,
different.
No, I think if they move on from Kadarius Toney, the move was still worth it. Like, it was absolutely worth the 3rd round pick because of what they got from him not last year, but the year before, and the punt return in the Super Bowl. Who knows if the Chiefs would have scored on that possession? I think it's a pretty decent chance because they got literally every single yard available to them that they wanted in the second half. The only yard they didn't get, they slid at the 1-yard line. But part of getting all those yards was starting inside the 10 with Kadarius Toney's punt return. If they started at their own 40, do they get stopped? Is there a turnover? Is there a dropped pass or something that happens in the game, even though those drop passes sort of stopped in the postseason to a degree? And Nick Jacobs brought up an interesting point. We were talking yesterday before Sunday Sound Off last night, because I'm like, they probably just, cut him. He doesn't have to clear waivers. He's a vested veteran. And then, re-sign him to the practice squad. And he's like, I think they're going to put him on IR. I was like, really? Because you can designate guys to return on IR.
Sure.
And he's like, if he's on the practice squad guys need to be scout team in practice. And if Clyde Edwards-Helaire isn't able to practice on the practice squad, well, now you're losing somebody as a running back on the practice squad that's going to be the other team's running back. That's going to help you get ready for the game. Keep him on IR, then whenever he's ready to come, he can still work on the things. He can be around. He can do all of that stuff and not have to play. And then after 4 weeks, ready to go, ready to play, you can bring him back at any point. But it doesn't also take up a special team or a practice squad spot.
I like that.
Hadn't thought about that aspect of it. I just don't know another team that would sign Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Yeah.
If the Chiefs cut him, I don't think he's going to be on somebody's practice squad either, because you just don't know availability from day to day. And if the Chiefs are moving on from him and they know everything about the situation that's going on, how can we bring him in being in the dark about what he's gone through the last couple of years? We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll hear from Andy Reid, Justin Watson, and Trent McDuffie coming up next. we'll head to Arrowhead practice facility today as Andy Reid, Justin Watson, and Trent McDuffie will be talking today. Practice will start around 1:20 or so. But press conference is starting in just a couple of minutes. Andy Reid, after having a day or so to look at the film, he was asked about Kingsley Suamataia Saturday after the game and said, well, I mean, didn't look like he was probably fine. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the thing. It's like, hey, what do you think of Kingsley Suamataia in that game? I didn't, which is a great thing. Didn't have to because there was protection. Like, the best thing you could say is that, you never really talked about the offensive line there. Unlike look, Chu Godric is not going to be expected to play snaps this year. Hopefully he doesn't.
Sure.
But the rep in which Carson Wentz got sacked, in which Chu Godric stood there, watched the guy go to his inside, and then just turned back around to the line of scrimmage looking for somebody to block while the dude, smashes Carson Wentz for a sack. It's like I'm pretty sure that was the guy you were supposed to block, the one that just ran right by you. And then you're like, well, I'll get the next guy. You didn't have to focus on anything offensive line-wise in the game because they simply did their job. We'll see what they do against the Bears. We'll see how much the Bears will play their starters. I don't know if they'll play starters in week 3, if Caleb Williams will play, if their defensive starters will play, how much the offensive players' starters will play. Patrick Mahomes has not played the last 2 years in the third preseason game. He played a series in the third preseason game 3 years ago when it was the first ever 17-game season, and it was only 3 preseason games. Andy Reid played him for one series in game number 3. He's not played him the last 2 weeks, or last 2 years, I should say. So is that something where Andy Reid's going, yeah, we figured out we don't need to put him out there for that third preseason game. We're good. He's got, 3 weeks, essentially, before he plays a game from the second preseason game. All right, Andy Reid is on his way to the podium, we have been told. So Andy Reid getting close to starting his press conference today with the Chiefs getting ready for preseason game number 3, cut down day 8 days away. What Andy Reid has seen now that training camp has broken, and they are back to practicing where they'll be practicing the rest of the year in their training facility, except for when they head to Louisiana in early February to go down there for a week and practice before whoever the NFC champion is that they'll be playing that week.
That's a good call right there.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
That was nice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Yeah, absolutely.
You had to make me think for a second. Like,
Did you?
okay.
Yeah.
And then you said February, and I
Yeah,
go,
take
oh,
that.
yeah. That's New Orleans. It's New Orleans this year.
It just
so.
sucks they're playing the Saints at home because they should really play the Saints in New Orleans just to get used to the stadium they're going to play in again like they've done the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Going to Arizona, going to the Raiders, so that this is the stadium you're going to be playing in. If they would just switch that Saints game from, I think it's Monday Night Football at home, put that thing in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Just so the Chiefs can get used to the ground, get used to the elements there. Be
The
great.
dome elements. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
big. It's a big factor.
Absolutely.
Why have we not talked about Cornell Powell, by the way? Why have we not talked about
They got a dome.
They do in New Orleans. That is true. They do. Why haven't we talked about Cornell
Yeah,
Powell?
come on.
Great. I mean, Justin Ross, I will say that
PS superstar, baby?
made a good block there for Cornell Powell.
Practice
it
squad
was
superstar
sort of the
Cornell
one play
Powell.
that stood out. But yeah, good on Cornell Powell. Had a big highlight in the preseason. Maybe a team will want to pick him up, but I think he's more practice squad Cornell Powell.
Is he going to
another
be
year.
like Garrett Dieter, where he's just a practice squad, a Chiefs practice squad guy
I don't
for
know,
a long
has
time?
Cornell Powell ever been activated? Like Gary Dieter played in games.
I think Cornell Powell.
Has he been active?
Jared Dieter has a playoff catch.
True. Facts.
Like honestly, has Cornell Powell ever been
First
active
down
for a
catch,
game?
actually.
I'm trying to find it actually.
I don't remember a game where Cornell Powell was
Cornell
active.
Powell, football.
All right, here's Andy Reid coming up soon. Maybe. Maybe not. Okay. Not Andy Reid. There was a question that came from the audience.
He's played in 3 games, but no catches.
No kidding.
3 games. It says in 2022, he played in 3 games.
What game did he play in?
He played offensive snaps, 3 snaps. Special teams, 28 snaps in 2022.
Okay.
So.
All right. And that was week
I don't have the weeks in front of me.
It was game 10, 11, 12.
All right, there you go.
It's against the Chargers on the road 2 years ago, against the Raiders at home, and then at Cincinnati he played. All right, here's Andy Reid.
Okay, the guys that won't practice today are Marquise, Hayek, Nazi Johnson, just a slight hamstring strain from the game, and then Truman Jones, his knees bother him a little bit. Chris Jones is still coming back, feeling much better. McCade, and then Winchester with that AC sprain. We're just going to hold him out. We've signed a center. They'll come in and do the long snapping for us this week until he gets back. And, as far as the rotation goes for the Bears, I'll probably set the starters the way it looks right now, and we'll have the other guys get out there and play. So we'll just see how that goes rep-wise. With that, time's yours.
You put it both ways in that final preseason game, starters play, starters not play. What goes into that?
Yeah, so I look at kind of number of plays between camp and preseason games. And we were up some 50 plays from the year before in camp, so I was able to monitor that and work it in with the preseason games. So.
I should know this, but I'm not sure. Did you end up actually having more camp days because of adding that window at the start than you had before, or just
It was the same.
same number?
Yeah.
Okay.
We just didn't have to go inside. And sometimes when we go inside, you have to cut back a few plays, just with the tight walls there, tight space.
Any position group that you're really focused on watching on Thursday night?
Really all of them. When you look at it, we're playing so many young guys, and I want to see where we're at there. We didn't block and tackle very well with the second and third group, and both sides of the ball. And so I really want to give them more of an opportunity. Sometimes the ones get a lot of reps during camp practices, and let's get these guys some more reps here. And then, especially when we're getting ready to cut down, get a little better feel on those guys in a game situation. So I think this will be valuable for a lot of them. I can't tell you one position. I try to look at all of them and just see where we're at here.
Andy, Saturday was the first game that Nazia played in over a year. Just what were your takeaways from his performance, and just how beneficial has training camp been for him?
Yeah, I actually thought he did a pretty good job. Yeah, he did a pretty good job. He was a little bit sore coming out of it, but I thought he played well, and his man coverage stuff I thought was good. So.
And just if you expand on just that position more generally, obviously you lost Snead. Spags has been looking for sort of a number two corner. Just what you think of that group as a whole, whether or not Jalen could factor into Thursday's game.
Yeah, well, we've got some guys that can play. We need to see Jalen get out there, and if he can play, then play, and then see where he's at. But some of those other guys have grown and shown some good stuff. We'll just see. We'll see how it goes. Might be a committee over there, but it's there is some talent there. Yeah.
Do you have a sense whether some of the guys who have been injured are going to be ready to go when you guys get started against Baltimore? Guys like Chris Jones, Timmy,
I think all those guys. Yeah, I think all those guys will be. Right. The only one in question would probably be Hollywood.
Juwan Taylor.
Yeah. That should be ready.
Kingsley got some extended playing time on Saturday. That was the first really long look. What were the thoughts on him coming out of that?
Yeah, I thought he did some good things. He, his pass protection was solid. His run game actually was very good. And he came out with things to work on. There are a couple little technique things that he can work on. I think the thing we're finding is you give him something and he'll try it in a live situation. So, and he was able to give him a couple things that can help him.
We'll talk to Justin Watson in a few moments here. Just how important has he been these past 2 years, especially now, just considering Brown won't likely play those years?
Yeah, he's been a valuable guy. I mean, throughout last year, on third down, he did a tremendous job for us. And smart, can play all the different spots, can go all day. You know, he can run all day, and he runs like a deer. So he's been very valuable to us.
You talked about the fact that you wanted guys to make it difficult for you to make the decision. How difficult do things feel now heading into this final preseason game?
Yeah, so I think there's going to be some, some tough moves. And that's why I like to give him some extended play and just see where we're at. Maybe there's a divider in there that something shows up, and there's good competition in really all those roles. But there's some great competition. We'll see how they do. Yeah.
Last one, Blair. And just wonder where things stand with Clyde, and you shared with us the last couple weeks ago, I guess, his deal.
Yeah. We'll just, we're just playing it kind of by ear and how he feels. He started feeling better the day of the game, and then he's felt pretty good yesterday. So we're heading in the right direction here. It's a sensitive deal. We're trying to, learn as we go here with it. So.
Is there any possibility he could start the season on injured reserve, just given time?
Yeah, we haven't even gone there yet. So with Brett, he might have a plan there, but I haven't really talked to him about that. We're trying to get him back out there and make sure he's comfortable, where he can function.
You expect to be out there today?
Yeah. Right now, I think, yeah.
Okay.
We'll see, but right now, that's what, yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
There's Andy Reid there, ending with that conversation around Clyde Edwards-Helaire, something that we had talked about that Nick Jacobs brought up last night of maybe the possibility of an IR stint for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And Andy Reid saying that, they'll continue to play it by ear, see how he feels. He felt better on Saturday, the day of the game. Said felt a little bit better yesterday, so heading in the right direction. He will practice today. And then asked about an IR stint, said haven't gone there. Brett might have a plan for him. That's what Andy Reid said there. Brett might have a plan there, but we'll just see what happens. Haven't gone there with him to talk about it, but he will practice today.
Maybe think, oh, well, that's a good idea.
Yeah, right. I don't know who the fourth running back is then.
Yeah.
I
think it's Keontae Ingram if you put him on the PS.
It's probably what ends up being, or if there's somebody out there that gets cut or waived that they want to bring in that they liked and put that guy on their 53-man roster as opposed to Ingram or certainly more than Imani Bailey. But, if they want to keep those four running backs with Pacheco, Steele, Prince, then Clyde Edwards-Helaire, if he's not able to go, then, at this point it would be Ingram.
Ingram hasn't been good, obviously, in his young career, but he's at least had NFL experience.
Yeah. He's been there, done that. I mean,
he's played in 20 games.
Offensively, they don't have a lot of backups with a whole lot of it. Like, running back behind Pacheco, without Edwards-Helaire, I mean, you got guys that are pretty green. Deneric Prince hadn't played. Garza Steele, we know, hadn't played. Those are your number 2 and number 3. You got guys that if Pacheco's missing a game or two, you got, rookies, second-year guys, practice squad players that are going to be out there running the football.
Yeah.
All right, here's Trent McDuffie.
Sure. How would you just assess, obviously you guys lost to Jarius, and I know there's been competition. How would you just assess the growth of maybe some of the younger guys that are in your position group?
Yeah, I think they're coming along really nice, We always talk every year about Coach Spagg's defense and stuff, but I think the biggest thing that I think these guys have been doing a good job at is just the communication. You know what I mean? You're not going to be right every single play, but as long as they come back and get in the classroom and ask the right questions and go back out there and just fly around and be confident, I think that's the biggest thing I've seen them just take little steps that, you may be wrong, but just keeping that confidence and that energy going.
We've seen you recently in training camp play maybe a little bit of a slot corner, which obviously you did a lot of last year. Are you, what's your preference on whether or not you're still in that mix?
Man, like I always tell Coach Spags, wherever he needs me, I'll go and play. So last year being able to be at nickel really helped me out just comfortability-wise, but being back on the outside also has been really fun, just getting back into the swing of things. I feel like corner is such like a perfectionist type position, your technique has to be flawless. So just going to work each and every day, just trying to perfect both positions has been a lot of fun for me.
Trent, what does stand out to you about Coach Spags as a coach and a person? What do you think enables him to be successful?
He cares. You know what I mean? I truly feel like we're his extended family when it comes to just how he treats us, how he approaches the game. Tough love, you know what I mean? But I think that's just shows how much he does care. He wants to put us in the best positions on the field, but also off the field. I mean, he's constantly talking to us, you know, how's the family, how's this, how's that. I have a good relationship with his wife, you know, we're really close. And he's been one of those people that each and every year I can just count on him. And he's continued to show me guidance, and not only just as a football player and being in the NFL, but also just growing up and just maneuvering my way throughout this whole process. I lean on him a lot.
Would you expect anything like that when you came to the NFL, that you might have that kind of relationship with the coordinator?
You know, coming from my old college, I was really close with all the college coaches. So coming into the NFL, that's kind of been just my thing, was just relationships, you know, just building a great relationship with the DC, with the teammates, with just everybody around here. So I wouldn't say that's like surprising or anything, but something that has been really cool to experience.
Trent, it sounds like you're probably not going to play on Thursday, but you have the experience last year of playing in that opening night game.
Yeah.
Just what from that experience can you sort of take and maybe even improve getting ready for Baltimore?
Yeah, I think these next 2 weeks preparing for Baltimore is going to be the biggest thing. Last year, I think making sure physically you're ready. You know, we get a little bit of downtime, which is good for the body to recover, but making sure you're still in shape, because we're going to go out there and play a full game, which we haven't done since the Super Bowl. And also just the little things, you know, maybe watch a little more film, maybe talking to the safeties a little more, like, hey, when you see this split, like, what should we do here? I remember last year when we played the Lions, I felt like we were really prepared, and we came out really well as a defense. So just kind of taking that same philosophy as last year, but just trying new things out and implementing little things from this year that we learned is going to be huge.
You were in a different situation coming into the league than some of the younger guys who are trying to make the roster.
Yeah.
You get down to the end here. What kind of things do you say to these guys?
Yeah. One thing I tell them is, like Coach Reed always says, the tape is your resume, you know, and even if you don't make it on this squad, there's 31 other teams out there that is all watching this film that you put on tape. So no matter how many plays you get, no matter what you do out there on the field, make sure you put on your best display, because you don't know who's watching. And also just tell them to just take it all in. You know what I mean? Things go fast. Training camp's hard. You're tired. You're learning new plays. Things can get frustrating, but be able to take a step back and be like, you're in the NFL. You're living out your dream. You get to experience all these new things that you never dreamed of before this. Has kind of been my kind of philosophy with it. It's just like, take a step back sometimes and just enjoy where you're at.
Trent, Legarius and Spags were mentioned. Just with Legarius no longer here, how much are you being tasked with maybe just to help lead the group a little bit more, be a little bit more vocal this season?
Yeah, I mean, they definitely rely on me a little bit more. You know, year 3, coming in here, being more of a leadership role, but also just someone who on the defense can become an anchor. You know what I mean? When you talk about guys like Jay Reed, Chris Jones, guys who people look up to and be like, what should we do on this down the distance? Just being out there at the corner position where, you know, you're on the island, you might have a big role in terms of communication stuff, but still being one of those guys on the sideline, making sure everybody's head's still up, checking in on guys off the field, stuff like that. Little things that I can kind of take over for other guys is something that I'm trying to do.
Coach Merritt mentioned last week that one of the traits that they really want on the outside is length, and you've acknowledged you're not the biggest corner out there.
Yeah.
But what's the difference as far as inside versus outside, and length making a difference? How do you compensate for that?
Yeah, I mean, I've gone against that, you know, my whole life. So the technique that I do works for me as far as inside and outside, but it's totally a different world. On the inside, you're getting a ton of different routes than you get on the outside, different skill position. I think as far as length comes, they're talking about bigger receivers on the outside, you know, 6'4", 6'5" guys who can go and jump the high balls and stuff like that. But I think that comes down to just 5 yards. You know, what can I do in 5 yards to slow the timing down, get my hands on the receivers, maybe show the quarterback different looks that I can do at the corner that he might not see as much. And then moving back to inside and being like, okay, now I have to blitz, now I have to play zone, now I have to show him different looks so that I can help my corners out, not just leaving them out there on the island. So I think physically wise, I'm confident in just both positions, but I think a mental aspect of it is a big jump, being able to do both.
We saw Coach Spags working a lot even back in the rookie mini camp with Jaden Hicks as far as blitzing and kind of disguising things and, you know, making sure the quarterback doesn't know what you do. What did you learn when you first got here about blitzing in the system?
Yeah, don't give it away. You know what I mean? Coach Spags like to blitz DBs a lot, which I personally love. Is the best thing ever. But making sure that you don't just give it away every time. You know what I mean? There's certain defenses, certain coverages, and certain calls that Coach Spags likes to show the quarterback pre-snap, and making sure you take your time and not just show it right away or even play with the quarterback a little bit. Like last year, a big thing for me was watching the play clock. You know, on third down, seeing when the quarterback liked to snap the ball and just reading that so that you can time things up a little bit better. It's something that I learned. Yeah.
Last one. Okay, thanks, Trent.
Well, good. Appreciate you guys.
It's interesting there from Trent McDuffie talking about the blitz. You're listening to Sports Radio 810 WHB Kansas City, blitzing at that cornerback spot from the slot that, watching the play clock throughout the game and on third down, the cadence, the timing of when they're snapping the ball so he can then time up his ability to blitz the quarterback. We'll get into a little bit more of that. Here's Justin Watson.
Pretty gruesome at first. What were your thoughts when you went through it, and how are you feeling now?
Yeah, just very thankful, like you said, that it looked a lot worse than it was. I feel pretty good out there. I've got a huge shout out to Rick and his whole staff, David Glover, getting me back a lot sooner than I think anyone expected. So just happy to be out there and feeling really good.
What's the biggest thing for you going from Hollywood?
Yeah, I think, at this point in the year, we're still just all focused on improving a ton each day. So that's been the goal since we got here in OTAs, since we started training camp. And so that's really no different, as each of us are just focused on improving. And it was good seeing Hollywood in the building this week. And it seems like he's, going to do everything he can to get back quickly. So, that's it. We're just continuing to improve each day.
What stood out to you about Xavier Worthy, and especially just sort of his mental grasp of the game so far?
Yeah, he's lightning fast, and so to see him processing the game fast and allowing him to play with a lot of that speed was just really cool to see. Just good seeing him make smart decisions on that touchdown, recognize that there was no safety in the middle of the field, gave it a little stutter, and then took the grass. So just seeing him take huge strides each week, especially last week to this week, and I know it's going to keep going throughout the season.
Andy has complimented your knowledge of the playbook, just knowing every position. How much more comfortable do you feel in year three, maybe to year one here?
Yeah, I think that's always the progression. At first, you're just trying to figure out the plays on the sheet, and then after that, it's, okay, well, this is how the line is drawn on the sheet, but what do you have within the route that you can work with? And then, now in my third year, it's really about getting on the same page with Pat. When I'm coming out of my breaks, knowing exactly where he's going to put the ball at, or in a certain play, how we're attacking the defense. So it's been cool just picking up where we left off, being able to point to some past year's film, say, hey, run it like you did last year against this team or that team, and just continuing to build with the relationship with Pat.
Justin, can you take us through that catch you made against the Lions the other day, what you saw?
Yeah, it was just what we thought on film. They played a lot of cover two, especially on first and second down. So right off the ball when we lined up, we knew that it wasn't man coverage, so it was probably cover two, and just let Xavier use all that speed to blow out three guys, and I just found that spot right underneath him. So usually I'm the guy that's taking the top off. It was nice being the guy that gets the catch.
Justin, with your 3 years now and sort of that time in the NFL, do you feel a little more of a role as, maybe elder statesman's too strong, but in the receivers room with what you're supposed to be and do in terms of that?
Yeah, I've always just tried to be a leader in the room, even my first year here when I was just trying to get my feet wet. But yeah, like I said, it's just cool to, like I said, know what the coaches want, know what Pat wants, and be able to share some insight with these guys so that, they don't have to learn the hard way. So it's been fun coming in as the new guy, and then 3 years in, kind of found myself as the old guy in the room and the guy that's got a little more gray hairs here and there. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah, really?
Yeah.
But with Patrick, I think you described this as still kind of a, not work in progress exactly, but it seems like even as much as you've gotten to know him now, it's still a dynamic event to keep working with him and learn new frontiers, sort of. Is that way?
Yeah, I think it's part of the game is to stay on top, is not to just do the same thing year in, year out. Every year teams have new things to throw at us. We saw that last year, and we had to adapt in the middle of the year. We know that coming into this year that teams are going to have new stuff for us. So we're starting to plan some of those things out and just see what trends are happening in the offense and the defense throughout the league, and just adapt on those.
In that elder statesman role, and also just all-around complete receiver, and a complimentary guy in that sense. Is there any of these young receivers that you see, maybe a young Justin Watson, a guy who can become that jack of all trades and be a glue guy in a room?
Yeah, I think top to bottom we've had a lot of good receivers. I look at Sky Moore has been another guy that I think in his third year also has evolved his role from just playing one position to knowing all the spots, being able to something happens, somebody needs a water break, a shoelace or something, and being able to point the Sky and head in. And Cornell Powell is a great example in the preseason the other day. He wasn't supposed to be on that play. We needed a sub for one play, and then he makes the play the preseason with a great catch. So I think we've done a great job as a receiver room, not just learning one position or just our plays, but trying to learn the whole offense so we can be dependable.
A couple more. We'll start with Nate.
I'm sure you felt more comfortable going from year 1 to year 2. Can you explain just what that feeling is like, and if you see any similarities with what Rasheed has shown so far?
Yeah, to think where he was this time last year to where he's at now, I think even watching a couple of those plays, he caught a little 6-yard stick route, and before the ball was even in the air, he was already turning and starting to run upfield because he felt the space. Pat was already throwing him upfield, and you see a lot of those same things with him and Trav. So I think Rasheed is in an awesome place. To see him, go from where he was at the end of last year and take a massive step to where he's at now has been cool to see. I think he's going to be a great leader for our room this year on and off the field.
You mentioned earlier that last year you were the guy that had to run a lot of the vertical routes. Obviously, you guys got 2 pretty fast guys this year. I know Hollywood's out, but he'll be back. Do you anticipate that changing your role in year 3 here, running maybe more of some of the underneath stuff?
I just kind of each week we try to throw different things at the defense. I'm ready to run the deep stuff, run the short stuff, and everything in between. I think it's just nice to have another option to present the defense. We got 3 guys that are all fast that can take the top off the defense, so they don't know who exactly it's going to be on each play, and you got to respect, each one of those guys going on the field, because if you don't, we're going to take you up top.
Class 1, anyone? All right, thanks, Justin.
All right, thank you guys.
Appreciate it.
All right, there's Justin Watson. Interesting. On his catch. Usually I'm the guy that's taking the top off, and nice to actually get the catch. Yeah, that's a nice change for Justin Watson too. He doesn't have to be take the top off the guy. Take the top off guy. Xavier Worthy can do that.
Yeah.
Justin Watson can peel back inside and get the 20-yard catch. That's nice. It's nice to know. He's a valuable player for this team. There's no doubt. Like I said, last year as the first or second receiver, no bueno. If he's the 4th or 5th receiver,
bueno.
Yeah, 4th receiver, 5th option. It's a nice guy to have as your 5th option.
Yeah.
Your 3 main receivers and Travis Kelce, and then Justin Watson. Not too bad.
Saying Sky Moore and Cornell Powell, those glue guys.
Yep.
Pointing to
right.
Sky Moore specifically, I thought was fascinating there.
He's many people have looked at Sky Moore as the glue to this entire offense. I know you do. Continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Text says 913-912-4810. I'll volunteer to be the take the top off guy. Yeah, me too. I'd love to do that.
Big.
I was going to say, we already have one.
Yeah.
Oh, there was a lot.
I'll take the check.
Hey, a lot of tarps off this past weekend, boys. It's tarps off kind of weekend.
Text says Tony went full ray gun on Saturday.
Thank you to that texter.
Yes. 913-912-4810. Text says, I doubt they cut CEH. His salary is guaranteed. Monetarily doesn't make sense. He's a $1.3 million dead cap hit. Then re-signing costs more money. Better leave it alone. Putting him on IR, that's possible. IR, I think you get some money back from that when they're on IR. I'd have to go and know for a fact.
But also, everyone remember the sunk cost.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Remember, sunk cost.
For sure.
Simple economics, my dear Watson.
Yes. Chiefs deep post is just called tarps off. Nice.
Love that.
There we go.
That'd be a
like
great
it.
play call. Here, just hearing Mahomes yell tarps off. That's the play call.
Mm-hmm. Text says, wash your mouth out with soap with that retirement talk. It was a joke.
We're making fun of
I don't have to
certain.
watch. It was soap poisoning.
I'm just angling for a job at Pro Football Talk. So
There you go.
We're making fun of a
Come on.
certain reporter. Certain.
That's fine.
Yeah, what do you want to call him?
Yeah. I don't know. Shock jock.
Shock.
I don't know.
aggregator.
Like when.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
It's like
Ooh, interesting.
It's like Dove climbing,
He technically is, because he gets news from all of our
true.
beat reporters and then puts it on Pro Football
true.
Talk.
Yeah, that's.
Is he the Dove of people who put their face out there?
That's Ari Mirov, actually. I would say.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was like the original. 'Cause
Yeah.
remember, he was My Sports Update.
Yeah, that's right. I like that. Like sometimes the aggregators, it's an odd.
You see the Chargers one last night?
No.
So
I might have. I don't know. What was it about?
it was about a fan doing it looks like a real proposal. Only to
that's
people-
right. That was
only
totally
to people
fake.
who have never seen acting
That
before.
was
Yeah,
so fake.
it was so fake.
Oh my goodness.
Like
yeah.
a lady spills nachos and a drink on a guy and then continues to walk down to
Yeah.
her seat. Yeah, come on.
And as the nachos are falling on him, he's already looking up like,
Yeah,
oh,
I
I got
know.
nachos all over me. And he was proposing to her at the game if he happens to be on the kiss cam.
Right.
Like it wasn't a, hey, fans, there's a special for one fan to another. And then, he gets up and, no, it was kiss cam. And, oh, my God, we're on the kiss cam. Oh, let me get up and I'm going to propose. And she's like, no,
Yeah, she's like, no,
stop
no.
it.
Yeah.
And then a lady's walking down the stairs and has nachos, and she trips and falls, and the nachos fall in his jersey. And then he's all mad at her, and then the girl walks off that he was proposing to, and it was like, oh my gosh, how embarrassing for that guy.
Like the friend behind the girl that
No.
spills the nachos dumps her drink on him too as
Yeah,
well
that's right.
to add to it. Yeah.
Honestly, though, it is bad for the guy, even if it's all staged, because you're still known as that dude.
Yeah.
Like, anytime someone sees you, like, at a bar, you're like, I know you from
Yeah.
somewhere. Where do I know you? That bad acting thing that went viral for 30 minutes on the X because you got beer and nachos spilt on you.
I'll
and
take it.
No, you cannot. How much do you think that dude's getting paid
It's a
for
good
that?
icebreaker. That's
Well,
a
he
great
might,
icebreaker.
$100
he might
bucks?
be working for the team there.
Yeah, that's my
He
point.
might be
It
in
might
PR
be-
for the team. It's just part of the gig.
He is.
Maybe he's interning with them. You know what? Hey, now you get a little shine, a little play. You're showing other teams, look, I'm willing to go the extra mile.
See,
I'm willing to
10
get
interns. It could be worse.
Yeah, we haven't had somebody go and propose at a baseball game for Sports Radio
And
810.
get beer
Yet.
nachos spilt on you.
Yet. So, Bill,
Best part. I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead. No,
sorry.
you go.
Last thing for that. The best was the comments though under it, and it just said, "Oh, this is proof that all Chargers fans are fake."
That's brilliant.
Very
that's
good.
That's the winner
There's
right
about
there.
4 or 5 comments like that.
Speaking of the Chargers, Bill Barnwell at ESPN wrote an in-depth story about 5 teams that he has most likely to improve in 2024. And specific reasons as to why he thinks they will improve, get better, whatever. So here are the 5 teams that he has listed as most likely to improve from last year to this year. The LA Chargers, the New England Patriots, the Commanders, Washington Commanders football team, and the Arizona Cardinals. There's one more team that he has as most likely to improve. But before I tell you that team, I just want to tell you the records of these 4 teams of what they were last year. Chargers were 5-12. New England 4-13, Washington 4-13, Arizona 4-13. Those are 4 of the 5 teams that he has most likely to improve.
Bold take.
The 5th team that he has most likely to improve from last year went 11-6 and won the Super Bowl. He includes the Chiefs as one of his 5 teams most likely to improve from last year and talks about that. Like, hey, not typically you're going to see somebody that was 11-6, a team that 11 as the reigning Super Bowl champions, on my list of most likely teams to improve next year. And I think his point is just simply how good this Chiefs team can be, the fact that they won the Super Bowl last year, and he puts them in the category of wins, losses, that they won 11 games last year, and they are one of the 5 teams that he looks at as most likely to improve on their win-loss record, which, 13, 14 wins maybe this year for the Chiefs, because the Chargers won 5 games, and then the other 3 teams, New England, Washington, Arizona, all won 4 games. So Chargers went 5-12, and the Chiefs 11-6. But what he points out is to why he doesn't think what happened last year would happen this year, and in fact, it would be the inverse, that they would benefit from some of those things and win more games. He talked about the Chiefs being -11 in turnover differential. There's a Chiefs team that won 11 games, won the division yet again, and was -11 in turnover differential. They were 4-5 last year when they lost the turnover battle. Quick math says they were 7-1 when they won, tied the turnover battle. But what he points out is in the playoffs, they won 3 of the 4 games in the turnover battle. The only game they lost in the turnover battle was the Buffalo Bills game. They had the fumble in the end zone.
Yeah.
They still win that game. So they went 3-1 in games in the playoffs, and 3-0 when they won the turnover battle, 1-0 when they did not. That was one of the points that he brings up, was turnovers typically equal turnarounds for teams. If you have a bad luck turnover season, that oftentimes will go the other way. The Chiefs only recovered last year 18 of the 43 fumbles that happened in the game. So 43 times, whether the Chiefs were on offense or defense, in a game the Chiefs played in, 43 times the ball hit the turf. They only recovered 18 of those. That's typically 50-50.
So you'd expect 3 or 4 more.
You would think over the course of the season. In the playoffs, the ball hit the turf 18 times. They recovered 13 in the 4 games in the postseason. So
thanks, George Kittle.
11-6 during the regular season. They go in the postseason. Some of that fortune went the other way. The drops for the Chiefs, 7.8% drop rate, which was dead last over the last decade of a drop rate for any team. In the postseason, that lowered to 3%. Chiefs stopped dropping the ball in the postseason. They scored points. They won the game. They stopped turning the ball over. They stopped dropping the ball. And they went to Buffalo, to Baltimore, and against San Francisco. And they won those games.
But can Mahomes win a road playoff game? Wait.
We'll find out. One day he will have to do. He certainly couldn't win back-to-back road games.
Okay, well, hear me out.
Maybe he'll win one if his defense bails him out. But he won't be able to win back-to-back games. And then in the Super Bowl against a 49ers team that's going to get revenge on him. Unless his defense bails him out again. You know? And gets a stop at the end of regulation or in postseason or in the overtime.
No chance they can beat the team that has the number 1 player in the NFL top 100. No chance.
No. Probably not. Not ahead of Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Holmes is now like, bleep you, I'm the number 4 player in the league. All right, I'm going to throw backwards behind the back passes. What do you want me to do? What more can I show you that I can do to be the number 1 player in the NFL? But I thought that was interesting that he writes about 4 teams that all won either 4 games or 5 games. And the 5th team that he looks at says all these things that he's looked at all these different teams. These things worked against the Chiefs last year that are expected to at least water find its level or go the other way. It's the Chiefs. It's why, you get more and more excited about what this team can be, how good they can be offensively, and why I've said there's no team that ever has in a salary cap era, and I don't know the next time there will be a team that is as set up to win 3 in a row as the Chiefs are this year. They are the favorites for a reason.
Yeah.
Because Cincinnati has some issues. Baltimore's got some issues. I mean, Derrick Henry in the backfield with Lamar Jackson could be a lot of fun to watch from afar. Maybe not week 1.
Yeah.
But you also wonder, should they have taken that money and spent it on offensive line when they lost 3 of their offensive linemen? And one of the guys returning is a guy in Ronnie Stanley who's played 30 games in the last 3 years combined.
Sure.
So should he be a guy that, you spend money elsewhere? You lose some guys on defense. Buffalo's got some issues their receiving core for Buffalo this year is not all that dissimilar of what the Chiefs were last year.
Keon Coleman, you're hoping, is their Rashee Rice.
Right. It's Khalil Shakur, Curtis Samuel, Keon Coleman, and tight end.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And an offensive line group that had the most percentage of snaps played together without injury last year was Buffalo. Their starting 5 played 97% of the snaps for the Buffalo Bills last year.
We saw their injuries on defense, but also coupled with the fact that when they were healthy, they're aging defensively, obviously. And Matt Milano, phenomenal linebacker, is semi-fluky, but injured yet again.
Yeah, I think there are 2 teams in the AFC that I look at and say have right now, before the season starts, better offenses than the Chiefs. I think it's Miami and Houston are really the only 2 teams that I would say have better offenses than the Chiefs.
I wouldn't even say better offenses. I think
on paper right now, because we'll see what it looks like. Hollywood injured.
Well, okay, if you're gonna count Hollywood injury
right now, yes, that's what I'm saying. On paper, what they look like for me specifically.
Sure,
Kingsley's sort of an unknown at left tackle. The Dolphins, we know what they can be.
Yeah,
and then Houston getting Stephon Diggs to go along with Nico Collins and Tank Dell and Dalton Schultz and how C.J. Stroud is now. They got Joe Mixon.
Yeah.
So I do think that offense is pretty legit. But I got questions, defensively. I got questions how they take a step forward this year.
Mm-hmm.
Miami, obviously, questions defensively. Those are the teams that you look at are most likely to challenge the Chiefs this year. And the Chiefs got better offensively in the offseason, and I think those teams took a step back.
Yeah.
Because T. Higgins is pissed off. Jamar Chase is holding in, and Amarius Mims is already injured for the Bengals.
I think Texans for sure, because I think they're a really good team. I think the additions of the veterans, including Danielle Hunter, is very impactful. I think Houston, they're a comp, and I still think the Ravens. I postseason we'll see, but I think the Ravens are still a damn good team, even with the misses. I think offensive line wise, they're almost the same as the Chiefs. Secondary, they're perpetually identifying and developing guys there.
Yeah, I mean, again, the offensive line I've got questions about with Baltimore, and then Bateman and Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews.
Yeah,
I like Zay Flowers, but
Isaiah Likely?
Likely not a guy that's going to be a game changer, at least. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll talk with Josh Kaiser, get his thoughts, and talk some Royals baseball as they had a phenomenal weekend in Cincinnati, sweeping the Reds, winning 28-3. We'll talk about what's going on with this Royals team. 3.5 games up in the wild card over the Red Sox, only 3 games back of the Guardians. More Zone coming up next. It's in WHB. Let's talk some Royals baseball. Josh Kaiser, One Royal Way podcast, joins us here in the zone on this Monday edition. Josh, welcome to the show. How are you, sir?
Doing well. Sorry I missed you guys last week. Had a little family vacation time, but happy to be with you this week.
No, I get it. I was out on Monday, so you didn't want to talk to Sterling. Totally understandable. I'm back this week, and you're back on.
I'm a little intimidated by Sterling and his Jim Rome voice. It's just how it goes.
Is that what it is? It's the intimidation, not just the not wanting to do it? I get it. Totally fine. But I appreciate you coming back on the show now that I'm back. So it's very kind of you, sir.
Yeah, happy, very exciting week to be a Royals fan.
I mean, this weekend, how much fun. I don't know the last time we've had that much fun watching a Royals weekend. Stress-free baseball is always great when you're in a pennant chase, not having to worry about, a bullpen coming in and blowing it for the most part, because then Lucas Ursay came in a closer game and shut the door, and guys offensively just simply coming through, and Barry Blanco or Dyron Judge and doing what he did Saturday and Sunday. What do you make of the 28-3 sweep of the Reds? And I just don't want to look at the Reds as some bad team because now they're 4 games under 500. If the Royals lost 2 of 3 to the Reds, they'd be a 500 team, and we'd put them in the category of, well, see, it's another 500 team the Royals went 1-2 against.
Yeah, that's 100% correct. That's I think we'd all be putting them in that same category as they can't beat good teams. And the Reds, they may be depending on where you classify the NL Central in general, but they are a good team. And the Royals went and handled business in Cincinnati, which was huge, and it was never a problem. So it was a situation where they beat a good team. I don't care about the records. I was looking at it last night. There's only been 4 teams in the AL that have a 500 or higher record against 500 teams. So it's not like the Royals are just, a fool's gold type of thing. Everybody kind of struggles against 500 teams. And the name of the game has always been beat the bad teams, be competitive against the good teams. And that's what we've seen the Royals be this year. There's been some, heartbreaking losses to teams that are in that good classification. But it's just they're still in competitive games, and that's what you got to do to make it to October, which we are officially past week 2 of the Chiefs preseason game. The Royals are still holding a postseason position, and that in and of itself is so awesome. Such a great feeling.
The Reds, by the way, are 11-6 combined this year against the Dodgers, Phillies, and Yankees. So, this going there and winning the way that they did, and I'm glad that Jack and I got in a conversation on Friday talking about the Reds, and we were discussing hey, this is a sneaky, interesting weekend because they've got a couple of good pitchers coming up on Saturday and Sunday. I like Lodolo, what he can offer. And so, Nick Martinez has been really good for the Reds this year, especially as of late in the starting lineup. But they were playing really good baseball since the All-Star break, and they were turning it around, and they were starting to play like people thought they would play earlier this year when they burst onto the scene last year, went into the offseason, made a number of different moves, and it was then supposed to translate to a playoff berth this year for the Reds. And so going in there and doing that, I don't just dismiss it as, well, yeah, it's another team that's under 500. The offense was 14 for 41 with runners in scoring position. They batted .340 when guys were in scoring position this year for the Royals offense. And of course, the way that the pitching staff went out there and did their thing. Momentum, next day starting pitching, but coming off this sweep of the Reds, the way they're swinging the bat right now, what are your sort of expectations, excitement level with the next 3 games that are certainly more than winnable before the schedule gets crazy tough? They got an opportunity here over the next 3 games if they can continue what this lineup is doing right now.
Yeah, it was fun to see the all-encompassing, absolute, beat down of the Cincinnati Reds at that point. And the other part about that is seeing there were so many comparisons about, is Bobby Witt Jr. really the shortstop, the best shortstop in the game, the best young player in the game? We got guys like Ellie De La Cruz that are just stat cats, babies. And then to see Ellie make 2 crucial errors and then not have a great game in general in any of those games. kind of seeing that, lining him shoulder to shoulder with Bobby Witt Jr. and then Bobby still doing what Bobby's been doing all year, especially since the All-Star break, was just another stamp on that series that was good to see. But it is nice to see them going into one more quote-unquote soft series against the Angels, where you should be taking 2 of those 3 at least, and then really start to get that gnarly gauntlet that we've kind of been eyeing the last 3 weeks or so. Starting off with the Phillies, who are a little bit not what they've been this whole year, but still very much one of the best teams in the majors. So it's good to see them have that momentum, have that confidence builder to hit the gauntlet that they're going to hit over the next 2 weeks. So feeling pretty good about that. Much better than if they hadn't taken the series against Cincinnati for sure.
How much of a fine is it daily, game by game, to use one of the specialty bats? Like, I don't know, let's say a crayon bat. If somebody were to want to keep using that, how much is the fine from Major League Baseball? Or, is it just you go up there to bat and then the umpire won't allow you to swing with that bat as an automatic out? I'm not sure the rules there. But if it's just simply a fine, then I think the Royals would be more than willing to pay that for Dairon Blanco to keep using that yellow crayon.
We've seen guys have to go change gloves and belts and stuff, but there's definitely something to that. I think there's plenty, not Dairon directly. I think his major league minimum is not really one to cover those fines, especially if they start compounding like that. But I think they could probably pool some money to keep that crayon in the batting cage for sure. I think that's 100% in. I'm in. I'll throw some money in there for that.
I don't know that I've ever seen something like that from a Royals player, that throughout the season, 1 home run, 5 RBIs, and then in one game he's got 2 home runs and 7 RBIs in one. It's not like 1 home run, 5 RBIs in the first 4 games of the season and then has a big game. I mean, this guy's played all year, essentially, and has the 2 home runs. I don't remember seeing something like that where a guy has a series where he's 5 of 8, 3 home runs, has a stolen base, scores 5 runs, 8 RBIs, just dominant. Yep. And if you're a Reds fan and you don't know anything about the Royals, you're like, good God, they got Bobby Witt and Dairon Blanco on their team.
Yeah, they just it's no wonder they're having such a good year when they can unlock these 29, 30-year-old guys that are the 4th or 5th guy off the bench that are just coming in and MVP candidates. Obviously, I think that's everybody's expectations of Dairon Blanco moving forward. But yeah, it's very. I think Gerard Dyson had a year or a game back in 2015 where he hit a grand slam, and it was huge for the clubhouse, and it was massive for that. And since Dairon Blanco's kind of in that Gerard Dyson role this year, it's good to see. But even Dyson's great game doesn't even it pales in comparison to what Dairon Blanco did in Cincinnati this weekend.
Do we dismiss what Brady Singer did because it was the Reds and their offense has struggled at times this year? The offense is one of the reasons why they're in the position that they are after going a combined 10 2/3 against Minnesota and Boston and giving up 10 runs and 21 base runners in that time. Do we dismiss what Brady Singer did, or is there a positive sign to take away from that as his next start will be against the Phillies?
I mean, as much as you want to, I'm not one to really subscribe too much into one start or the next. I've kind of learned my lesson to not get too high or too low on situations like that. It should be more of like a 5-game sample size to really figure out where guys are on a consistent basis and get you a good sample size on that. But it was encouraging to see him bounce back and do the things that he's been slowly or under the radar doing all year. No, I don't think anybody would still be able to guess Brady Singer's ERA at this point. So I think it's just a lot of what we have seen. Guys go through tough stretches, especially when they hit or they throw against good offenses. And I think that in this situation is probably what it really was with Brady Singer. So it was encouraging to see him go out and kind of get some more confidence and be able to put some good innings together. But it still doesn't answer the question that a lot of people have with Singer is what does he need to do to get out of his own way when things aren't going well? He didn't really have that many situations where he was in trouble or an error was made behind him or he walked a leadoff batter and then he had to respond. So I think that's still the question with Brady Singer, and nothing really got answered on that front. but it was at least good to see him have a good outing as it has been all year.
Yeah, his next 3 starts are against Philadelphia, Cleveland, and Cleveland.
That's tough.
Yeah. So he's. I mean, if it's a matter of not pitching, if it's just those splits that we've seen, they've been very drastic of late. That the teams that are above 500, below 500, good offense, bad offense, that he's pretty dominant against teams that are struggling and just gets shelled by teams that are good. The next 3 outings can go a long way to continuing that narrative or starting to quiet that narrative if he can go out and pitch well and give the team a chance to win a game against the Phillies, against Cleveland twice. I mean, starting on what was it? They got Thursday off. So starting Friday, because it's just a 3-game set against Philly. So starting Friday, as they get ready for the Phillies in this gauntlet, certainly it's a big deal. Visiting with Josh Kaiser, One Royal Way podcast. So now they look to be a better chance than not, and essentially 3/4 of the time they make the postseason. The percentage chance right now. Is this team in the playoffs? You think, if you're guessing right now, they're up 3.5 in the wild card spot. They are only 3 games back of the Guardians to win the division. Are we talking about go ahead and put those playoff tickets in the cart, tickets for less?
I think I heard over the weekend that they still are only opening up the postseason tickets to you got to sign up for season tickets next year. I think that's what they said on the broadcast over the weekend. So we'll see how that goes. The nerds, the baseball nerds that are much smarter than me, figuring out these odds and making it a more likely scenario has me all kinds of excited. I think I came on maybe 6 weeks ago and proclaimed that they were going to make the postseason. It has been quite a roller coaster since then. I'll tell you that. But I think at this point, I'm still feeling pretty good about their odds. And I mean, what is it, the 2-week stretch? If they can play 500 ball or hover around 500 ball, I got to think those postseason odds are pretty close to 90%. They kind of, let's see, after that it's Pittsburgh and then Detroit at home, the Giants at home, then they go to Washington and to Atlanta. So I got to think that if they can make it through that gauntlet over that 2-week span around 500, then you can go ahead and start financing for those postseason tickets that'll go on sale by then. So very exciting to get to, but it's all right there in front of them. They got to go get it now. It's crunch time. This is where the rubber meets the road, and they got to go take it.
What's going on with Vinny? Is Vinny just simply becoming the player that the Royals organization was hoping that he would be? And, first taste of the big leagues for a half a season, was getting used to it. You saw the potential. Last year, maybe he was as injured as he talked about, and it's taken him a while, almost maybe a full year to come back from the labrum. The last 41 games that he's played, he's batting .320 and getting on base at .335, not doing the walking as much, but he's doing a lot of damage when he's been at the plate, slugging .530, OPSing at, .860. But in the 41 games, he's got, 10 home runs and 42 RBIs. That's, 40 home runs and 166 runs batted in over the course of the season for Vinny. Is it over his skis to expect that he can be a .320 hitter? Is it close to maybe what you're seeing, what you think of Vinny, that he can come close to what he's been over these last 40 games, that while he may be hot right now, he's not hot that he's so far hot that there's such a regression to the mean that's going to happen for him? Like, what level do you think we're seeing of Vinny Pasquantino that he can consistently play at from what he's done these last 40 games?
I think what we've seen from him since the All-Star break especially has been his ceiling. It's what the organization has been believing in, knowing what he's capable of, what he's shown in the minors coming up, what a lot of us, following throughout his career have expected him, to get to. So it is nice to see him coming to meet that ceiling. Just being playing in that realm for anyone playing at their ceiling is a good thing. Mm-hmm. I will also say that I think he's getting a lot of benefit from batting behind Bobby Witt Jr.
Yeah.
Bobby Witt Jr. getting on base, somewhere between 380 and 420, depending on where you want to, stop your filters. But having him on base in the pitcher's head, knowing he's willing to take a base at any given moment, is definitely beneficial to confidence is at the plate. So it's certainly beneficial on that end. But just Vinny, he's going to be a streaky hitter anyways. That's what we've seen. We've seen the highs with him. We've seen the lows with him. So to see him kind of hitting that ceiling is probably a hot streak. But boy, is it fun, because that offense, when it is humming with him, hitting guys in and hitting Bobby in at that point, has been very, very exciting. And going back to the Singer point, if he's given up 4 earned runs in 5 innings or whatever against Cleveland and Philly, with the way this offense is going, you got to feel pretty good about them being in that game at that point. So with Vinny, with Singer, all that coming together at the right time, it's just kind of how a long season like this grinds out. But it is good to see them all kind of hitting at the same time.
Yeah, he is Vinny Pasquantino, since going 0 for 18 in the stretch against the St. Louis series and the Minnesota Twins first couple of games. He went 0 for 18, and since that 0 for 18 stretch, which went into that third game against the Twins that they avoided the sweep, he is now 8 for his last 5, 10, 14, 8 for 16. That tells me he's batting 500 since he went through the 0 for 18 stretch. That is that final game against Minnesota and these 3 games against Cincinnati. He's been dominant. I mean, he has been a force in the middle of the lineup, and he made the Reds pay twice for intentionally walking Bobby. A home run and then another single and
Those
RBIs.
Cowards.
Yeah, I mean,
cowards.
But honestly though, that's crucial though, right? I mean, that's so big for a team that goes, all right, well now you've got a guy behind Bobby who, since the All-Star break, is essentially OPSing at 900. So are we going to put Bobby on base to face this guy who could very well drive Bobby in because he's going to have 100 RBIs this year?
Yep. And then I think they said yesterday that Vinny and Bobby had the most RBIs since the All-Star break, which Bobby's been doing all year, which is wild considering who he's had hitting in front of him. But Vinny being able to, capitalize on those as well has been absolutely massive for this. And it's good to see having that 2, 3, and then Salvi at the 4. I mean, Renfro's taking turns at the 5. That's been really well. MJ has been, stepping when he's getting his shots. Massey, when he's healthy, he's been, extending this lineup a little bit more, especially at the top, which they've really needed. So there's just been a lot of guys kind of stepping into the role, extending the lineup, making big hits. I think their first in OPS was runners in scoring position. Is something like 954 since the All-Star break. So it's just insanity what that offense is capable of when they're humming. And there's obviously been times where they've been inconsistent and haven't been able to hit a quad A pitcher. But at the same time, this is a scary lineup, even though it doesn't look like that on paper.
All right, last one for you. Do you trust the Royals bullpen? I know there's more trust with Urseg, but is the Royals bullpen good enough with Urseg back there to help to hold off the Red Sox, Mariners, and maybe catch the Twins or the Guardians?
No, I have no faith in the bullpen. To be very honest with you, I think people want to get on the queue for making the decisions, and a lot of those are money quarterbacks type of criticisms. But he has had very little to work with. He is playing whack-a-mole with guys that are hot or ready to, go back to Omaha or to be DFA'd. That's basically who he has been working with this whole season. And to add Lucas Urseg in there, who's, by the way, since joining the Royals, 9 1/3 scoreless innings, a 37.5% K rate, hasn't walked a soul since joining the Royals. So they've been able to get a guy that can get strikeouts, throw really hard, throw strikes, and not walk guys. And that is huge. That is exactly what they needed in that bullpen, because they literally, quite frankly, had nobody that were able to do that. So the overall confidence with the bullpen is not great. They've all kind of just been taking turns being good and dominant, and then also being very bad. So it's a situation where we need Urseg to be the guy for a long time, and then the other guys just kind of be good when they need to be.
Yeah, I mean, you're up 4-1, bases are loaded, and you're facing 2 and 3 coming up with 1 out, and you're trying to protect a 3-run lead. And all season long, we've said the Royals just don't have somebody that can go to the bullpen to get a strikeout. And they do now, and he came in, and he got both of them, and then pitched the 8th inning. And that's where sort of the 9th inning didn't matter, because the Royals ended up putting a 4 spot on the board after Urseg pitched in the 8th inning as well. But 9th inning didn't matter as much. You could throw MacArthur out there. But that 7th inning ended up being the game. And that's Squatchero's got to make the decision at that point. What's he going to do? Go with his ace in the bullpen or wait till the ninth inning?
Mm-hmm.
And it worked out in the game against the Reds because they got out of it, and they didn't need him in the ninth.
Yeah, and that's a huge boost to the lineup too. They were able to get out of that squeeze, so you gotta get the confidence to be like, okay, that was a close call. We got to go score some runs here, but also you don't feel like it's all on you. You actually have someone in the bullpen that you have confidence in.
Mm-hmm.
And let's not get it twisted. Ursa is going to get blown up at some point. It's going to happen. That's just what happens with relievers. So it's good to kind of keep our wits about us as fans to see that coming, but also to enjoy the ride whenever he is having those dominant streaks like this. So to be excited about when the plan actually comes together like Hughes did. So it's important for Royals fans to enjoy this ride, to care and live and die by each game as part of it. But just keep your wits about us. Enjoy this ride because, boy, it is something special.
Josh Kaiser, One Royal Way podcast, joining us. Josh, as always, appreciate the time, brother. Looking forward to our conversation next week.
Absolutely, me too. Thanks, boys.
All right, there you go. There's Josh Kaiser, One Royal Way podcast. We'll take a timeout, come back, continue rolling. We'll talk with Mick Schaefer. More Zone coming up next. That's right. We'll be at Mod Pizza on Thursday, heading up to the Chiefs' final preseason game, which will be on 38th The Spot. And also, the at Chiefs.com, they'll be live streaming the game. You log in on Chiefs.com at 7:20, the game at 7:20. Thursday, they'll have a live stream of the game. So if you don't have 38th The Spot, don't have access to it, whatever it might be, obviously check your local providers, but Chiefs.com will also have a stream for you there as well.
Hey, look at that.
Game on Thursday at 38th The Spot.
The Spot.
The Spot. Not the parking spot. Ding, ding. Although it's easy to spot and easy to park, there's no spotting for parking.
You think De Jesus is going to be there?
De Jesus. Ding, ding. HB41 sports director, hanging out here on this Monday. We heard from Andy Reid. We heard from Trent McDuffie. We heard from Justin Watson in the press conferences earlier today. Josh Kaiser in the previous hour. Now Mick Schaefer. Mick, what's up, brother? How are you?
Main event. That's what I'm hearing right here. Main event.
We got the appetizers out of the way. Now we get the entree. But what's the dessert?
The meat and potatoes is here, fellas.
This is the dessert. When you're like, do you want dessert? And you have to think, but you know you're not getting dessert.
Yeah.
You know you're not getting dessert, but you're like,
what happened to dessert?
I'd love to.
It had its time. In the 1980s, dessert was almost an essential. It had like half the back of the menu to itself, and now it's in the corner, if there at all.
Because no one
and
gets
it's just a couple things.
And you always have to tell your waiter, oh, I'm thinking about it. It sounds really good. That sounds great.
We're going to pass on it.
But
portion size are off the charts is probably the reason why desserts have gone by the wayside.
It's the
dodo.
It's the small, very limited Andy Rooney impression that I can.
Let's hear it.
Nobody has ice cream anymore. I remember when I was growing up, we'd always go out for dinner. We'd save room for dessert. I'd always get ice cream. Chocolate chip was my favorite.
That was it. There's my Andy Rooney impression. That's it. You gotta have that particular pace.
Well, you know what? Andy was right.
What are you, 12?
Oh, come on, Sterling. Dang it.
I mean, somebody texted in earlier, was like, is Sterling 19?
Oh, he's a 60 Minutes guy. Yeah, okay.
Oh, he was.
Yeah. I mean, at one point he was.
He would do like commentary at the end of 60 Minutes, and it was usually just kind of like old guy yelling at clouds.
Yeah, I know Andy Rooney.
Nobody does this anymore.
It's like Walter Cronkite, kind of the same.
When I was growing up, things were so much better than they are now. Everybody gets a ribbon of the Gen X generation.
Well, actually, what is it? The millennials? Like, oh wait,
every generation's got it.
After
people
you,
don't realize that
see.
you yourself change, right? Your perspective on things change.
And also, who's giving the kids the ribbons?
Yes.
The people that complain about it. You're the ones giving the ribbons out and the trophies.
Probably, yes.
There were people in the 1790s that were like, this next generation coming up is so soft. All they want to do is read their books and do polka dance. They want to clog.
I would say actually able to read, not even read books. Like,
they're able
learn
to read. What are they doing? School, mess around with school.
8-year-olds should be in the coal mines.
Yeah.
Mark that. Just to take out of context, just for the heck of it.
There was a time where people said that, I'm sure.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Every generation thinks the next one is softer.
Yeah.
And they're probably right, because with technology
have you seen
and
Gen
progress
Z or
and all
A
that
right
stuff.
now? I mean, oh my gosh.
What are we doing after Gen Z?
We
kind of started that late.
Kind of back to A, I think.
We're back to A?
Yeah.
Or
all I know is
is it AA?
Kids these days,
am
they
I right?
are soft.
I mean, you are so right about kids these days. No matter what you were getting ready to say, I was just going to agree with it no matter what, because you had the tone of, oh, kids these days, let me
they
tell
don't
you.
even speak in complete sentences anymore. I'm just perplexed. I'm befuddled.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've got to decipher what sus means. Why don't you just finish the whole word?
I tell my kids, get off the phone and come over here and watch TV. Like
what's TV
we did
short
back
for?
in the day.
Well, it used to be called the television.
Yeah. Get off your device and
it's
come
YouTube
here
now.
Watch the device with me. It's a much bigger
device. Okay.
It's a lot of things at my fingertips that I can, with this right here, this TV, just hang out and watch it with me. I mean, why do you not want to watch this? This is ridiculous. There was a text, or a tweet, I should say, a while back that did like a microfiche search of the,
it's a word.
Nobody is working anymore.
Kids don't even know about that word anymore.
Well, that sort of goes along with what we're talking about. But it was a whole long Twitter thread of like going back to like the 1800s.
I'm sure.
And it was
I do. I
somebody writing about kids and this generation doesn't want to work, and it just goes back further.
It actually
and further
did go
and
back
further.
like the 1800s.
Yeah.
Like it was very impressive.
Yeah, it's unbelievable that somebody would put in all that work, because I know I would not. That's a lot of work.
Kids these days.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, that was somebody who was clearly much older than I am.
Your
because
parents probably would have put in that much work, Jason.
No, they wouldn't have put in that
not
much
you.
work. I mean, if it's anything like the work they put in raising me, then it wouldn't have been much work at all. Here, go watch TV. I learned about the facts of life from watching Facts of Life.
I learned a word, microfiche. Is that that's a word?
Microfiche, yeah, whatever that thing
I
is.
don't know what that is.
When you go to the library and you look through old newspapers and try to find those different articles from like the 1800s. that maybe they're available, maybe they're not. I'm not sure. But, it's one of those things. By the way, did you see Netflix is coming out with a new Untold series, which hopefully it's better than the Swamp Kings.
What's Untold?
Untold is their...
Untold is normally great. It's basically they look back at past scandalous events in sports, conspiracies, or stuff. Like one of them was the Arizona State betting scandal. What else have they done?
Last year was Johnny Football.
Johnny Football was really good.
And then it was Swamp Kings, which was terrible.
Was that the Florida
That was
Gators
like
one?
a commercial for Florida.
I mean, there was Urban Meyer and Tim Tebow putting a documentary together and then packaging it as Netflix Untold. But the first one of the 3 series, Untold.
Tim Donaghy was really good too. The referee.
Yeah.
Oh, well, was that also either I saw that or I saw the
Probably
30,
saw that.
30 for 30? Do they ever have one on?
It's something like a 30 for 30.
Well,
I mean,
like
it's a
it, yeah.
documentary.
Well, then I probably saw that one. Then
Well,
I do know
tomorrow is the first of a 3 series for Netflix Untold is Air McNair, so it's about Steve McNair.
that. Oh, that'll be cool.
And I mean, they have a lot of making up for Swamp Kings for me because Swamp Kings
Was that the most recent one they've done?
It bothered me so much. Like it was just like such a puff piece. Now I don't know how you do a puff piece on Steve McNair's murder. I'm not sure unless it's a puff piece for the people that actually murdered him, not the murder-suicide, which is what the cops called it. I believe in the conspiracy theories that I don't think Steve McNair was killed by...
I don't think I know enough about it.
Well, maybe, hopefully...
We'll find out.
Yeah. There is a really good podcast called Fall of a Titan, and it's like 10 episodes, and it goes into depth of all of the circumstances surrounding the death, and that it doesn't lead one way or another as to, no, I believe this, so I'm going to present it. It's just, here are the facts, here are some of the issues, here are the things that some people have brought up, here are the reasons why this is probably not true, here are some other things. It's a really interesting podcast. But then they have Untold. The second episode is with Connor Stallions, the guy who was stealing signs from Michigan, and he hasn't talked to anybody. And
The show's called Untold, Jason.
That's a good point. Yeah. Then why is he telling it?
To this point, it has been untold.
Oh, okay. So then that's
it.
So it should really be
That's
called Told.
inherent in it.
Now it's told.
It's told, finally.
It needed to be told.
Finally told.
It needed to be
Needed
told.
to be told.
But Connor Stallions, I mean, who knows if he goes on record of how much Jim Harbaugh knew, but he's apparently very open and honest about how he was stealing the signs, how intricate it got, how he practiced and perfected the skill of stealing signs from
Jason,
other teams.
I don't know if you guys know how a coaching staff works.
How does it
but
work?
often the underlings on it go rogue and go against what the head coach wants, do their own thing without being told to do it. That's typically how things work.
That's how you get ahead.
That's right.
That's how you show you have gumption.
And the thing about Jim Harbaugh is he's typically okay with like assistants sort of doing their own thing, going off script than what he has scripted for every single person on his staff for every day and every hour of the day. So he's usually perfectly fine if somebody does these things on their own and then gives the information to, like, I don't know, offensive and defensive coordinators, but not him.
Right.
Like he's typically totally cool with that. So we'll see. But the third one is Hope Solo versus U.S. Soccer. So the story behind that.
Less interested in that one.
Agreed.
The first two.
Yeah, less interested in that one. But I'm hoping that the first two are good. I'm hoping that Connor Stallions is actually interesting.
We might just need to look. Who's the executive producer?
Right. Well,
is it going to be another Urban Meyer type EP job?
Exactly. That's what I'm worried about. The Connor Stallions is that it's not him just trying to then turn his image around. That, hey, I could still use a job in college, and this is what I was doing and how I was doing it, but this is what I thought was okay, and hire me again.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that's not the case.
Is the fourth one going to be the Untold Story? The Mick Schaefer story.
Is it?
Is
it
that
about
gonna
Mick
be?
Schaefer?
I don't think so. It's been told. I tell people all the time.
Okay.
It's Monday,
Everybody
Wednesday, Friday.
knows. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it would last not very long, a couple minutes.
That's a long time.
Nothing really interesting in it.
What'd you think of the Chiefs game on Saturday, Mick?
It's over. Love it.
What'd you
There
think
was
of
a
the post-game show?
behind-the-back pass.
There
and
was. There was a behind-the-back
That
pass.
was
That did
awesome.
happen.
We need something like that in those games
People
that
haven't
don't
talked
mean
about it.
anything. They haven't.
I think we should talk about the things that people aren't discussing.
should talk about all the people who are like, yeah, but did the Chiefs win?
I didn't see that until Sterling
I
alerted
brought
me
it
to
up, too.
people that were like scoreboard.
Which, I mean,
it's mostly Facebook people.
Yes,
it's mostly the
I mean,
Facebook folk,
on
not
Facebook,
the Twitter folk. So
if you want to find something, any take
Yes,
whatsoever,
true. You can find
no matter how absurd, you're going to find it.
You're not wrong.
And probably in droves, right? Like
Yeah.
they got there. So I don't think it was a large percentage of the people saying that, but it was funny seeing them all collected together.
Dude, I saw the like this is a big deal. Like I mean
it's never happened before. So
that's
there's
what I
that
said.
part.
Like
except what is it Sammy Baugh or some old time quarterback?
Dan Marino did one where he threw it in practice.
Okay.
And just threw it like really far behind his back, but it was a lot different.
There's one from like the 1960s.
Yep.
It was black and white.
It was a Pro Bowl game, All Star. It was.
He was about
Sonny Jurgensen.
Sonny Jurgensen. He's about to get sacked, and he just flicks it. Did he complete it?
Yes, he completed it to the back. The back was kind of like the outlet safety, and he just threw it behind his back because the guy's, trying to sack him.
Here's the deal. For professional quarterbacks, I don't think that's that hard, especially for Patrick Mahomes. He's played basketball, right? And throwing a short little 5-yard behind-the-back pass isn't that hard for most guys, but no one has done it in a game, so there's that part.
Also, when he says that, I knew it was on target, but I knew it was low. So I was hoping that Kelsey would catch it. It was on target, and it was low. So he knew exactly where, as soon as he let it go, he knew exactly where it was going.
He knew he short-armed it.
Yeah.
Like, not to be punny here, but he did. He kind of like, I don't want to overthrow it here, and then you end up underthrowing him.
You know, Mick, Sterling brought up something interesting. He said maybe the next thing that Mahomes can do is like maybe between the legs, like a tennis shot or
like
something.
a tennis player.
Really? You came up with that yourself? You didn't watch Sunday Sound Off last night?
Shockingly,
you
I did.
Son of a gun.
I was driving back from a bachelor party.
Did you guys
I was
address
not
my
watching
question?
it.
You drove back from a bachelor party at 11 o'clock last night?
Oh no, I was
Sound Off comes on 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
I was probably asleep by then. I needed to catch up on some
Yeah.
some Z's.
Yes, that is what I said, almost word for word. We'll call it the Roger Federer.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. You copied my idea.
Why would I
don't know
copy? I
why
called
would
it
I?
Jack Sock.
He was very
Jack Sock would
Called
be
it
good.
Jack
He
Sock,
was
yeah.
very shocked when I told him the story that
I was
Mick
surprised,
said. He
yeah.
was like, "What?" He's like, "Okay, yeah, now we're on the same page." I said, "Yeah."
I'm
but
just thinking about it. That's about the only type of motion
you.
and
Yeah.
we
It's
haven't
the-
seen.
It's the rugby. It's the rugby pass to
think
Xavier
that would
Worthy
be-
coming around the end.
I think-
fake it to the right and then turn and then Xavier Worthy.
Or just do next game because that's going to be Reese Dammett's last game, and give it to him that way.
And in fairness, Mick, if I was going to steal content from someone, I would steal some content from someone much more respected.
Like who?
I don't know.
Can't think of anybody.
Dahmer.
Dylan. Who'd you say?
Dylan. Yeah.
It was Jeffrey Dahmer.
It was a joke about Mick Schaefer.
I think he said Jeffrey Dahmer.
Somebody way more respected than Mick
Yeah.
Schaefer. Like I don't know, Jeffrey Dahmer.
But it was whispered so quietly, I
Way
couldn't.
more
I was like,
respected.
did you
than
want
that
the
guy.
listeners to hear that? Was that just for us? Was that a little insider? Or?
If it was for you guys, I'd wait till the break. I'll tell you.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see that one though. That's a little.
Do you think we'll see
tougher
behind the
to
back
pull off.
in a regular season game?
I think we will now, just
do,
by Andy Reid's reaction to it. Like, I mean, he was short on all of his answers, but he's like, I'm just glad it was completed.
Yeah.
And then he said, it's like it happens all the time in every basketball game. And
Twice a game.
What's the difference? Like, there's a huge difference, Andy.
Where do we begin?
First of all, if you turn it over, I mean, there's lots of turnovers in basketball games. In football, you don't want that at all, ever.
Games can be 80 possessions in basketball.
Yeah.
I don't know the last time there were 80 possessions in football.
And if the
Not happening.
guy on the basketball team drops it, he can get it back and keep going.
Keep playing.
Right? It's an incomplete pass if that happens in football.
You're saying he's very nonchalant. Maybe he should be more chalant about
He
this.
should be way chalantier. Yeah.
Yeah, there's more chalant.
There's a little more chalant in there. So by that, and the last couple of years, and I don't know if I just didn't believe him or what, but Mahomes has said, no, Andy's cool with it. It's just on me to do it. I'm like, all right, Patrick. Now I'm like, if it's on you, I'm going to see this a lot more often.
And that was actually the one, as he said, that's sort of the play that it would happen on. Yeah, the only way you could get him the football was behind the back. If he stopped, then the defensive.
Oh, there were other ways.
Nope,
I mean,
it's the only way.
you could have pitched it left-handed like that,
No,
right?
there was a
Option
guy,
style.
There was in
it
the
would have had to
in the lane.
switch hands and then go around. By that time,
He
the
could
defender
have
would have seen
turned
it.
real quick and thrown it with his right hand. That wasn't the only
No.
way
I
to get him
think
the
that
ball.
was the
I think
best
it was
way.
pretty much the most efficient way and best way, and probably only way.
It was done. It was in the back of his mind all game long. It was done with a purpose.
Okay.
The purpose.
For a second, you were sounding a lot like those people on Facebook who were haters.
I know.
I'm not hating. I'm just saying he planned to. He could have got the ball to him a lot of different ways.
Sounds a lot like scoreboard people.
A lot like no look passes. Those aren't always necessary.
No, but you help.
Left-handed
you
passes
freeze
aren't
the
always
defender.
less necessary.
The one against Denver was
very necessary.
Nah,
It was
he could have got
incredible.
with his right hand. Take one more half step, do the right hand. Absolutely.
This guy is Mick Schaefer, Holmes hater.
It was necessary. It's necessary for the break. We'll get Learn Funniest Best coming up next right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Enough about my friends over at Greenlight Dispensary.
Should that count as a hit by pitch? Or should that be, dude, you're out of the you're so far crowding the plate that when you stepped to time the pitch, your front foot was on the plate. Your toes and the balls of your feet were on the plate, and you took it on the elbow, which you were wearing a pad, and then you jogged down to first base. So I'm just wondering, because Venezuela, Japan, it's in the 5th inning.
You got money on it?
No,
on
they're
these
both
12-year-olds, on
I
these
just
wink 12-year-olds.
I honestly don't know the rule. Like, you're crowding the plate that much that your feet are almost touching the plate, which they should probably redraw that line.
If you get hit by a strike, it is still a strike. I know that, but I would imagine too, if you step on the plate and you get hit by a pitch, there's probably some sort of ruling that says no, you're not going to first base.
Yeah, I thought that's probably what that could have been.
I actually think it's a strike if you're touching the plate.
His foot was on the plate when he got hit in the elbow.
I believe it's considered a strike.
They're crowding the plate on purpose.
Dylan might know, actually, but I just know because in softball I didn't want to take a walk, and I got called out because my foot was on the plate as I was swinging at an outside pitch, and even though you hit it and it was a hit, they're like, no, it's an out because your foot's on the plate.
Well, and if you're outside the box too, right? Technically, the rules if you step outside the box while you're hitting it, because I've been called out in softball too for that. Little running start.
Well, you also don't want to walk.
Slap hitter.
No, I appreciate that about you. You don't want to walk in softball.
Yeah,
slow pitch softball. You're a slap hitter.
What's that?
Slow pitch softball. You're a slap hitter.
No, I was at the front. It gets you going.
Yeah, Jason, come on.
I'm just
not
I'm not a home run hitter. That's for sure.
Look at this guy, not an elite softball player, Jason Anderson.
Shocker! You just figured that out.
Yeah. When you have time and you're seeing where that pitch is going, yeah, you want to get a little head start, a little step, little momentum. I need all the help I can get.
Friday night, I might hit you up.
Oh yeah.
If you know that, you know how to play.
All right, learn funniest best. Let's get into it. Maybe I'll learn about what the rules are if you're stepping on the plate and you get hit by a pitch because you're crowding the plate that much.
I think Bear League and MLB rule books have a lot of symmetry.
What about 12-year-old Little League? What's Little League rules?
They're all the same.
The USA certified
They
league.
all kind of file under the Major League Baseball rule book.
Makes sense. So. All right, so learn funniest best. What I learned is that Danny Jansen has a chance to become the first player in Major League Baseball history to show up in the box score for both teams.
Yeah. Yes.
Coming up on August 26th.
I learned this a couple weeks ago.
Oh, did you really? Oh, darn it.
Blue Jays and Angels?
Yep. Blue Jays and Red Sox. Blue Jays and Red Sox. Danny Jansen was playing for the Blue Jays earlier this year, and he was at bat. He fouled off a pitch in the second inning, an 0-1 count. The skies opened up. Rain delay turned into a game being suspended. Subsequently, Danny Jansen was traded from the Blue Jays to the Red Sox. This game will then finish up August 26th. Yep. Also, the man who was catching for the Red Sox in that game was Reese McGuire, who has been sent down to AAA because they have Danny Jansen. So, in the game, for him to play catcher, he would sub in for Reese McGuire during the same at-bat in which he's pinch hit for.
Wow.
So in the box score, Danny Jansen will be pitch hit and sub in for Reese McGuire at catcher for the Red Sox. Pinch hit for the Blue Jays and inserted at catcher for the Red Sox.
So he'll still be part of that at-bat if he's catching the That is wild. I didn't know that part. I knew he's going to maybe play for both teams in the same game.
Yeah.
But they will resume. He will still be part of that bat, but in a different uniform and playing defense.
Playing catcher.
God. It's unreal.
So he just has to stay healthy for August 26th for him to be in the game for this.
That hurts my head. That's a lot of
amazing.
That's wild.
There was a game. Keith Law brought it up in 2009, or maybe it was Ken Rosenthal. I think it was Rosenthal. Maybe it was Keith Law. It started with a K. Joel Hanrahan in 2009. He won a game for the Nationals while playing for the Pirates. He pitched the top of the 11th inning for the Nationals.
Okay.
Between innings, skies opened up. It went into rain delay. Game was suspended. Between that time, he was traded to the Pirates. Game resumes, and in the bottom part of the 11th, the Nationals come back and win. He's in the bullpen for the Pirates. He's the winning pitcher that day for the Nationals.
Wow.
Because he pitched the 11th before it was rescheduled.
That's wild.
So, yeah, that can happen on August 26th. Danny Jansen can be pinch hit for in that at-bat while subbing out Reese McGuire at catcher for the other team.
And will they start with the 0-1 count or whatever?
It'll be an 0-1 count.
Will he be telling the pitches just because this is almost like me up here, okay? I want you to hit a home run here.
Well, so he sets you up. It's 0-1. He sets you up with a fastball, but get ready for the curve.
Yes.
Get ready for
Yes.
the curve. He's setting
Right.
you up.
It would be amazing if that was still his at bat instead of like whoever subs in for him. It becomes their at bat. But if somebody subs in and hits a home run, then Danny Jansen gets a home run in that one. Not how it works. What'd you learn this weekend, Sterling?
I learned that Scooby-Doo's real name is Scoobert. It's Scoobert Doo.
Wow.
So
I didn't know that.
That's his legal name is
Scoobert Doobert?
Scoobert.
It's like a Robbie Robert situation.
I love that he's Scoobert Doo.
Yeah. So
He must have played baseball because that's how you get those
Scooby.
E names at the interview. Hey, Scooby.
Yeah.
Scooby.
So he's
if he
Bob
played
Doo.
Hawker, it'd be Scoober.
He's Bob
Right.
Doo, right? Because if it's
It's Bob
Scooby
Doo.
and Scoobert, it's like Rob and Robert and Bob.
Yeah, so it's Scoobert, Scooby-Doo. So yeah, that's Bobby. Basically, you're right. That's like Bobby.
Yeah.
Scoobert, Bobby Doo.
Scooert, Bobby Doo. There you go. Scooby Doo. No, that's I didn't know that.
Well, that does make sense that Bobby Witt's real name is Bobbert.
I'm sure it is.
Well, if we're using the mathematical, law of
Is that mathematics? Is it physics?
There's some
Grammatical
law
would be the
in
word we're
there.
looking for.
Tell you what, man. Geology rocks, dude. What'd you learn, Mick Schaefer?
I learned about Caden Davis. You probably already knew about Caden Davis, Northwest Missouri State guy.
Who?
He's the guy that caught the touchdown for the Detroit Lions.
What?
The game on Saturday. You had to know him, right?
Yeah, I grew up with him.
Did you? In Ellsworth, Kansas?
Yep. Me and
I didn't know he was
old
from Ellsworth, Kansas, and I know some people from Ellsworth, so that's very cool. He is fast AF, fast and fun, and he scored a touchdown for the Lions, and hopefully he latches on with them. I think he's bounced around between some teams the last couple of years, so good job, Caden Davis.
Yeah. Shamari Connor could have taken a better route to that one. The angle left a lot to be desired. But yeah, well done.
Why are you hating on
Northwest
Caden
Missouri
Davis?
State. Once a Bearcat. Dylan, what'd you learn?
So I learned that the rabbit ears that I allegedly used to watch the first preseason game, Stream East, is no longer.
The rabbit ears Stream
They have
East?
been seized by the Homeland Security. So a moment of silence, rest in peace for Stream East.
So did I see LeBron was using it or something like that
no
at a
moment
game?
of silence there, Mick.
Was he really?
I don't know. Sorry.
Hang on, moment of
Moment of
silence for
silence.
Stream East.
Okay.
Hang on. Okay, moments passed.
Thank
Now,
you.
Mick,
I don't know
apologize.
when I saw the tweet, I had no idea what Stream East was. I didn't know
I
if that was
found
one of Kanye's kids.
I think it'd be West, but
Doesn't he have a
East
kid
West.
named West? No, it's a kid named North.
North.
Yeah. Who knows? Whatever.
Middle name by.
That weirdo family, they'll do anything. And then they
No,
were
middle-
making
middle
fun
name
of
by
him
North.
looking
North by
at
Northwest.
something on Stream East.
Interesting.
Yep.
I found
I
out
love
what it
how
was
every
yesterday.
game Dylan tweets at the station, "Hey, how do I watch the Chiefs game?" I'm like,
You gonna do that Thursday,
No,
Dylan?
he's already tweeted one last night.
Nick Jacobs has sent me a long article to read about where to find it and if I
Yeah.
cannot find it. And
Because
so
Dylan
no excuses.
told a very bad joke on the air. Mick, you would have
Did
been
he?
upset by it.
I did.
He said, this is not true, by the way, disclaimer. He said, well, this week only, YouTube TV announced that they were picking up
Why would
38th
you
spot
say
just
that?
for the local
I don't know.
people.
say
I'm like, that's not true,
That's
is it?
when Nick
I didn't
sent
know
me
if
the
it was
article,
true. And he's like,
actually,
yeah,
so-
that's what the Mick said. I'm like, what are you doing?
The bit got better because they actually didn't know if I was serious
I had
or
no
not.
idea. I
Yeah.
was like, what?
Disclaimer, he was lying.
I
That
was
wasn't a joke. That was a lie.
Kidding.
That was a lie. On to funniest. Sterling, what was the funniest from the weekend?
I had a few, obviously, but one of my favorite was there's a game called Odds Are, and if you this was 1 in 7, and you count us down, and if you both say the same number, whatever I had asked him to do, then you have to do. If they add up, then I have to do it. But this one I got him to do.
Seems very easy
So
to,
my,
to
so my boy
understand.
lost in Odds Are and had to walk downtown Columbia wearing a golf glove, and then had to play at pool in a golf glove. That was the
Only a
the
golf,
bet.
that's all he was wearing was a golf club?
Nothing else.
tarps off.
What bet did you lose to have to put yours around your backpack into work?
Oh, I forgot that.
His golf clubs on his backpack.
That was the Top Golf remote.
Ah,
That was
if
the
you
Top
see
Golf
that.
remote, and I
I
didn't want
see
to
it,
leave it
yeah.
there. Yeah, it was
I
top-
just
it was a
figured he was
remote.
looking for attention, and I didn't want to give it to
That
him.
camera angle you can actually, and Dylan is zooming in right now.
Okay. That's not
can
my
actually
fault.
see the
That
golf
was a
gloves.
remote, and I didn't want to leave my glove at Top Golf. I have sweaty
that's-
hands.
and-
You know
it's
those
crazy.
backpacks, you can actually put stuff in them.
And also,
But
Top
then it gets-
Golf was
keeps it
that remote
dry.
was yesterday, right?
It's been a while.
Oh, okay.
It's been a while.
I didn't know maybe.
I just forget to take it off.
Yeah,
I
I'm
don't think
looking.
about
Most
it.
of those backpacks have zippers and pockets and stuff.
yeah,
It looks
most
like
do.
yours has one too.
Is that a Louis? With Deion Sanders over there, the Louis Vuitton backpack you got there, buddy?
It's a Rezammit.
That was pretty good. What was the funniest for you, Mick?
James Hoy is an MLB umpire, and he was working second base in Anaheim. And I think, I don't know if he was looking as a review. It almost looks like there was ice on him for a review. Yep. And his ump jacket was unbuttoned a couple buttons, and he's got a Kramer shirt on, Kramer shirt on, the Kramer, right, which is the portrait in one of the episodes, and I have the exact shirt. And he's wearing the Kramer, and that made its rounds.
He unzipped it to take out the earpiece so he could listen in. So while he unzipped it, there's the picture of Kramer right there.
I thought it was an official MLB game issued black T-shirts. No, you gotta wear your own. I guess.
Before I read about Danny Jansen, I learned what umpires wear under their uniform. Was that James Hoy? So I'm glad you used that. That's great. What was the funniest for you, Dylan?
The funniest for me, Jared Kohler's had some really good mashups made this year. He did one with kind of the best practice footage of the skill position guys.
This one was really good.
Yes.
But he did one with the coined phrase that you have, a HUD.
A HUDgasm.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
The HUDgasm, a 45-second clip here.
Here we go. Let's listen to HUDgasms.
MJ! He missed there, but Salvi didn't. And look at that, Mark.
Oh, how many marks can hold that one?
Leader in RBIs. And he's got more. Vinny, deep right field. And now Melendez.
They're simultaneous.
Sometimes I swear it's happening before the click of the bat.
Salvi.
The ball. Baby. And he got on top of that one.
Usually do.
And Vinny smokes it to right.
Little one there. Yeah, the HUDgasms are
just a
HUDgasms are great, man. They're great.
A couple things on that. One, I would have sworn there have been more than 18 times he's done that. I don't know how many home runs they've hit this year, but it seems like there would have been more. And then, like you said, it feels like it's instantaneous, or maybe before the crack of the bat.
He knows, man. My funniest was Todd France at bat for the Royals. Ty France, like I said, at bat for the Royals. He swings and misses for the Reds against the Royals. Swings and misses, strike 3, loses the bat, and it lands in the trash can in the Royals dugout.
Really?
Bounced off the
net.
net.
One they were hitting to give the signs away?
Yes, that's exactly right. That's right.
The Astros.
That would have been the Astros, yes. Swings and misses. The bat flies, lands on the net, slides down the net, and goes in the Royals trash can over there. That was great. Best, we'll start with you, Mick.
Do we have time here? Okay, this is a comedian. His name's Sam Morrell, and his goal, he'll travel the country, and they'll bring him on
these.
You
good with this, Dylan? Did you talk to Todd?
Yeah.
Okay.
Todd's good. And so his goal is to get kicked off of morning shows, local TV morning shows, and he set a new record, 47 seconds in Baltimore.
Who is this with us here?
This is Winnie. She's a rescue. I saved her.
Yeah.
She was getting sexually assaulted by a pack of chihuahuas.
Oh my.
In Los Angeles, and I stepped in.
Yeah.
He has a dog with him.
2 of them.
You did.
And we've been together ever since.
Is that going to be part of your routine? Like, what are we going to see this evening, this weekend?
Hitler, genocide, Kamala, Trump, and poop.
Well, all things that are on top of mind for folks
Yeah.
the moment they wake up and turn our newscast on.
I don't want to burn a bridge here. I know how you feel about bridges in Baltimore, but
Oh my goodness! All right, Sam, we're gonna take it out of here.
It's his new record, and he even tweeted, I was like, they still invite me on these shows. I can't believe it. There's a whole compilation of morning shows he's been on.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was your best from the weekend, Dylan? That?
Well, that was great. But Vaki, I don't know his first name for the Lions when his face mask fell off mid-game, making him look like a 1930s football player.
That was awesome, yes. My best was the Players Weekend, all the different bats and everything, and the cleats. That was really cool.
Inflation doesn't hit most of Mizzou because Jello shots are still $1, and I got set 12 shots of tequila for $44, and not
college campuses.
and not low tequila, like good tequila. 12 shots, $44. Inflation does not hit college.
Was that just for you? The 12 shots?
Could be.
What is that next? right, wrapping up the show. The program coming your way next with Jack Johnson, Curtis Siebold. Thank you, Mick. Appreciate it, man. Great stuff today, dude. Really good stuff.
It was so much fun being here on a Monday.
Right.
It's like I want to do it again.
Maybe Wednesday?
I'll let you know.
And then I do want to have you back the day after the third preseason game that they have. So that's Saturday, right? So we'll be back Sunday?
If I survive it.
Okay.
It'll be on 30th spot again.
Oh, on Thursday. So let's have you Friday then.
That's great.
Day after the third preseason
Read some
game.
more emails?
Yes.
Can we? Can we do that? Do you promise?
I'll read a couple.
Oh, yay.
Read a couple.
Yay. And then, and then Sterling can try to read one of them and you can push him out of the way.
Oh, shut up.
Sorry.
Is that sore subject or?
Very sore. Yeah, I'm glad you're bringing it up at the end of the show.
What?
Guy might be.
What are you talking about?